There is an imperial orphanage at the temple. This is the place where many saints were born and raised, and it is there that a child lives hated by everyone, teachers and wards. The nuns constantly whispered that the girl was nothing but trouble. The students supported them. They thought that she was a complete nightmare. Everywhere the heroine was superfluous. They laughed at her for wanting to become a saint because they thought it was unrealistic, especially with her character. Another time when Bells got into a fight with the boy and shouted that he started it, Diana Berlot came to him to treat his abrasions. This child is bright as the sun, the complete opposite of the scoundrel. They say that darkness is needed so that the light shines brighter. In this case, the girl served as darkness. The country where Belze was born is called Iria, a nation of saints, and both nobles and common people alike honor the hero and the goddess, and the temples in which she is worshipped possess unheard of power and prestige. Their history is full of miracles, performed by saints. The heritage of Aria is inextricably linked with certain people, saints, and the flowers of the temple. In the temple orphanage where Belza lived, saints were born who bestowed unimaginable glory upon the country. It was said that the children in this orphanage received the blessing of the goddess, and that they were endowed with a gift from birth. The main character's ability was healing, thanks to which she was considered a candidate for sainthood. But because of Diana, she was not destined to become someone higher, having broken through. They were the same age as Berlot. They came to the temple at the same time. She also has the gift of healing, and her character is angelic. Unlike Belza, she was gentle and kind with children, and with adults too. People could not stop constantly comparing these two. It's a pity that they got the same power. At first, she gave it her all and tried to get ahead of her rival, but everything collapsed the moment Diana's guardian appeared on the orphanage's doorstep. The nuns were surprised that the Marquis of Barillot's family had arrived, and they say they left her in the orphanage almost immediately after her birth. Apparently, the gentlemen were tormented by their conscience for the illegitimate child abandoned to the mercy of fate. Although the girls were considered candidates for sainthood, they were as different from the very beginning as heaven and earth. The girl did not expect to become like her rival. She found honor and family, and Belza remained in the shelter after some time. Due to the incident, she first lost the gift of healing. Along with her abilities, the beauty stopped seeing the source of pain in other people. Life lost its meaning until one fine day came. Duke Callios and the young gentleman arrived at the orphanage. The blonde could not believe that they wanted to take her, who had no gift under their care. The heroine understood perfectly well that the Duke's family would be disappointed because she no longer had the ability, and then they would return it back. She did not need extra problems and movements. The girl is attracted to the young gentleman. She carefully examines his black hair, like a moonless night, the sharp gaze of his golden eyes. Edwin Callios was different from others. It is impossible not to notice that the boy looks like a prince from a fairy tale. The moment their eyes met, the lady forgot about everything else, completely immersing herself in him. The little girl smiled, thinking that the young man was quite handsome when she said this out loud. He raised an eyebrow in surprise, not understanding whether she really liked him that much. Pointing her finger at the boy, the girl declares that he will belong to her. Thoughts about adults who might not give her into guardianship cease to worry her. The monk apologizes, forcing the girl to bow her head. She is still too young to understand everything correctly. The Duke smiled. No big deal. Children will be children. The custody issue will be resolved. Nothing can be undone. The little girl immediately joyfully rushed towards Edwin, who with wide eyes jumped to the side so as not to be touched. It seemed that everything would be fine, but the discussions continued, and although the lady had grown up and her status had changed, she was still not welcome. She remained an outcast who was not welcome anywhere. Lady Diana, as usual, was towering. They said that she managed to cure the terminally ill Empress saints. Like her are born once in a century. It's a miracle. The maid, smiling, declared that the young Master Edwin had made a right by becoming engaged to the Saint Belza. Unable to bear it, rushed forward. She was tired of hearing about only Berlot, and that only she was noticed. The woman could not contain her emotions wherever she went. Diana's shadow followed her. No matter how she climbed, she could not get to where the saint was. It turned out that the beauty got absolutely everything that the heroine dreamed of, so much even her lover, and he proposed to Berlot. This is unfair. The maiden already had everything she needed, and even more, and then she dared to wish to take for herself the only thing that the Duchess treasured so much. When this happened, envy of Diana went beyond all bounds, and it was then that one of the Crown Prince's subordinates contacted her, asking if the heroine would like to break off the engagement and become a saint. The messenger reported that Diana's family had conspired with the second prince to kill the emperor, and they gave her a letter containing information and a proposed plan. It turns out that they left proof of the conspiracy on paper. All she had to do was leave the letter and the vial in the marquise's house. The woman found it strange that she had been entrusted with an important mission. Jealousy blinded her, so the girl cast aside all doubts and unnecessary thoughts. The joy that Edwin and Diana would separate forced her to act immediately. However, the truth was different. Belze was a fool who was easily used. The realization came too late. She was detained by the guards without even a chance to justify herself, and then accused of treason and attempting to poison the saint. Immediately after this, a letter containing evidence of the conspiracy was discovered in the Duchess's room, which completely hardened her sentence. Prison was not in sight. A little later, the lady learned that the evidence incriminating the Marquise of Barilote and the second prince had been altered to frame the Duke and the Crown Prince. The Kallios family, a great clan of heroes, distinguished by valor in war, preserving a centuries-old history of honor and valor, were stripped of their title and exiled. Standing before the scaffold, the maiden could not stop thinking. The woman didn't understand why everything was happening to her, as if she was playing the villain in a B-movie. Everything became clear at the moment, when the guillotine had already penetrated her flesh. The world she found herself in was actually a novella, a story about a young girl, her trials, victories, and love. She overcame all hardships and became a saint. The title of the book turned out to be My Destiny to Become a Saint. And of course, the main character is Diana, not Belze, so she was the center of attention. Every significant person encountered along the way was one of the male characters in the harem, but the secondary heroine's fate was quite sad. Belze was indeed a second-rate villain. She always interfered with the main character in her search for love and destiny. Everything in the world was created only for Berlotte. Everything revolved around her. The woman understood that she was sorry she did not want to end up in such a place, and even more so to lose her whole life to stupid jealousy and anger. At the time of her death, she felt even sadder that her fate had not worked out. If only she had come to her senses earlier, perhaps everything would have been completely different and would not have ended so tragically. Her eyes opened. The heroine could not believe that she could feel her body again. Feeling her arms and legs, she looked in the mirror, only to discover that she had managed to return to life. The baby is back in the orphanage. She's 5 years old again. And as soon as she realized she was living in a novel, she managed to reincarnate, and in her past life, there were things that were very different from the original plot. The fall of the Kallios family did not happen in the book. After the poisoning of the saint, they decided to disown the girl, deciding to protect the honor of their family and their fortune as well. Belze is wondering what to do next. She feels completely lost. Perhaps the actions were different from what the heroine did in the original. The girl begins to understand that she has become the reason for the fall of the Duke's family. She is torn from her thoughts. The door opens abruptly. A nun stands on the threshold, who asks with displeasure whether her ward has dressed. The woman orders the blonde to sit down and rewrite the 10th chapter of the 6th scripture immediately after eating. In an hour, she promises to return and check. The most important thing that cannot be forgotten is that Diana had long since finished all her lessons and left the orphanage, becoming part of a very noble family. She went to the Marquise of Barilote. The little girl raises her eyebrows in surprise as they continue to abuse her. It is unclear how it happened that she, the same age as the saint, never learned to write or read properly. She is a disgrace to the entire orphanage. Between the candidates for sainthood, in fact, there is a huge insurmountable gulf. In front of the lady stands the nun who tormented the girl more than anyone else, and she will never forget her. The woman snorts with displeasure because she sees that no one is listening to her. If this time the girl wants to do something, she will get what she deserves. Why are you staring at me like that? By knocking the baby over, the nun makes her fall to the floor. She doesn't like anything about the person in front of her. Apparently, these are the methods of upbringing used in the orphanage. Unsightly children are beaten. A cough is heard. I wanted it to end soon. But there is no hope for this, because it is a sign of an incurable disease. The heroine will not tell that she knows the secret. The healer's vision is a special ability that allows one to recognize diseases and their causes based on the color of the fire, which only one person can see. In the case of the nun, the blue color of the flame means that she has an incurable illness. In a past life, thanks to her skill, the beauty managed to predict death. The last time the maiden told the truth, the woman decided that she was mocking her, or that an evil spirit had possessed her, forcing her to tell fables. The little girl was locked in the obedience room. The Holy Father took care of this. The beauty did not understand, until the very end, why they did not believe her. She screamed, trying to get out. The blonde was locked up for slandering a nun, and when she died, as predicted, she was locked up in the room again for no reason. For 2 years as punishment, the little girl completely lost her gift of seeing the doctor. In the past, the ability could no longer be returned. The beauty hopes that now everything will be different. Before leaving, Belze is reminded about her studies. There is no need to remind her she was going to do it herself. Diana was always meek, and her rival was disobedient. They, as candidates for sainthood, were almost constantly compared with each other, which was so infuriating that the lady behaved even worse. Only later did the heroine realize that, because of her failure, many families did not want to take custody. If she had behaved like Berlot, she would have gotten out of the damned orphanage much faster. In the past, the notorious pride did not allow her to sink to a lower level. However, the Virgo decided that she would change everything, she would pretend, and make everything better. Once she failed the exam because the girl could neither read nor write, but now she has gained experience, so rewriting chapters will not be difficult. It is the easiest task. The first saint, Arcia, sacrificed her heart to the goddess to stop the spread of evil on earth, and with her act, she began a custom. The little girl looks at the sheet of paper and gasps, because in front of her, there are just some scribbles. Obviously, the mind will not be able to synchronize with the child's body. This cannot but be upsetting. In general, the reality is quite logical, since Bells learned to read and write in the Duke's family, and Eddie himself helped her, carefully supervising the process. Sometimes the little girl felt like she was making no progress at all, but almost always she was told that everything was fine. She just needed to keep trying to finish what she started. The Duke also wanted to see how the girl was doing, and therefore asked her to show him everything, but she refused because she wanted to wait until the handwriting was perfect. Eddie managed to assure the beauty that her father would still see how things were going, so she handed him the piece of paper, and he then said that Belzu was doing well. The lady was always harsh, driven by self-doubt, but they were there, never scolded, but on the contrary, tried to calm her down even when everything did not go as desired. It was thanks to her extraordinary patience and acceptance that the maiden was able to open her heart and begin to consider them her family. Even the first attempt to write a chapter was already regarded as a reason for praise. My father was always kind. He not only praised me, but also laid out my arguments on the shelves. The first time he said that with time, my handwriting would be beautiful. The potential was visible. The child wants them to see each other again. She wants to ask forgiveness for her complacency and rudeness. She wants to repay them with the same kindness and care that she received throughout her life. A week after her return, rumors began to spread throughout the shelter about how much Belze had changed. The restless bully seemed to have been replaced. She was very different from the previous version of herself. Having decided to completely change her life, the lady began with changes that could not go unnoticed. She began to eat everything, even when the taste was disgusting. The boy who tried to annoy the beauty kept saying that she threw out food on purpose so as not to eat it, which made her angry. "I'm trying to get my life together, and you're getting in my way." The blonde wanted to beat him, but to maintain her image, she calmly explained that everyone saw how she ate everything she chewed and swallowed every piece. The boy was lucky he was allowed to get away with the way he behaved. The candidate for sainthood was too busy trying to improve her reputation. She had a long road ahead of her, but she was ready to go through it in order to meet the Duke's family again. One day, a beautiful outfit was brought to the novice, and she was surprised, Since this is usually what noble guests are greeted in, the nun announced that they were meeting with an important person. She had to agree, although there were still too many doubts in her head. No one had any reason to look for Belzy. She didn't understand who wanted to see her. It was absurd. The girl first met the Duke at the age of 7, after completely losing her gift when she was 8. Guardianship was arranged, and she left the orphanage finally finding a happy family. The baby is only 5, and at this age, no one should have visited her. No matter how she started life anew, the actions should not have completely changed the course of the story. The gates open, a painfully familiar voice is heard from, which goosebumps run down her body, covering her mouth with her hand. The beauty holds back, so as not to accidentally burst into tears. From that very day, not for a second, not even in her dreams, she did not forget the Duke's family. She could not forget those who dedicated so much to her, constantly helped, and were there. The nun offers to greet Kallios, who, like a statue, does not express any emotions. He does not remember the lady. In this world, they meet for the first time. Until the very end, the heroine cannot accept reality and thinks that she is in a dream. She did not even think that she would meet them so soon. Inside, she doubts why did they come so early. The girl doesn't know what will happen next. She only hopes that what is happening is leading to the best. She hopes that fate itself gives her a chance to become part of the family a little earlier. She needs to make a good impression, but she can't control her emotions. The heroine tries to force herself to calm down. She introduces herself the way she was taught. The little girl says that she has the gift of healing. Her manners make the Duke pleasantly surprised. The lady does not understand how she did not start, before the way they look at her with such warmth. Kallios points to the youth standing next to him. This is his firstborn and heir Edwin. It is impossible to raise his gaze. If the lady looks, she will not be able to hold back her tears. The blonde greets the gentleman. The nun is already about to tell about the purpose of the visit, when the Duke interrupts her, wanting to speak out as well. He comes very close, bowing his head. Asking if she wants to say something, her body is shaking. She shouldn't come so close. The beauty can barely contain her storm of emotions. The brunette asks if he is not good enough, because obviously she does not like him. She is already on the edge. It is unfair to remind her of the past. Belzy burst into tears when she calmed down, began to reproach herself for having behaved incorrectly. The Duke forces the boy to apologize, but he is unhappy. Did I do something wrong? Only one saint made mistakes in her new life. Everything is exactly the same. She ruined the first meeting, putting an end to the future, unable to keep up with the emotions lurking inside. The priest asks for forgiveness for the girl, regardless of age. It is important to know that in the Kallios family, a clan of iron blood, neither blood nor tears are known, and generations of swordmasters have been raised in it. The current Duke also had a good reputation in his childhood. Rumors are lies. The Kallios family is very kind-hearted. This can be understood already by the fact that they did not refuse even such a girl and always supported her so. The priest suggests they come another time, believing that Belzy will be of no use, but the Duke resists as it is natural for small children to be afraid of strangers. Having such conversations in front of a child is unacceptable. As is already known, the girl is the last hope they need her to change everything. The conversation turns to a child who was sent earlier. He couldn't help in any way if it weren't for his son. He himself wouldn't have noticed the lack of progress in the treatment. The little girl begins to understand what is being said, most likely about the second son. The Kallios estate is plunged into deep grief, because neither the help of the most famous doctors nor all kinds of medicines can help the boy. The gentleman turned to the temple. As a last hope, they received a decent sum of money. Diana, who was with the Marquis, was sent to the residence. But even she, possessing an outstanding gift of healing, was unable to provide help. As is known, the youth died when Belzy was 7 years old. Before his death, Berlot regularly visited the family for a year. There is still plenty of time, but they have already learned that the powers of the saint do not work. If you think about it, the Duke's first son asked him when they met if he was good enough, as if he already knew everything, as if he too had been transported from the past. The little girl pushes away the confused thoughts. If this were true, the young man would remember the day when the family was destroyed, all because of the candidate. The Duke notices that one of his children is very similar to Belzy. He is also very reserved and polite, jumping up. They tell him I know about him. You are talking about Joshua, right? Last year, the lady already met him. You can't miss the chance in her past life. The girl used her abilities on many people. The Duke's second son was one of them. The incident was so minor that it was almost erased from memory, but it was a wonderful opportunity to repay the kindness of the Cullios family. The heroine asks if it's true that Diana wasn't able to cure the boy. She can't promise to cure him completely, but if she can help in any way, she will definitely do it. The blonde promises that if she is given a chance, she will definitely do everything possible. Silence hangs in the room. The gentleman thinks about what to do next. The heroine doesn't know if she'll succeed. It's unlikely that everything will go well, because she's much weaker than Diana, Edwin snorts. She even asks us for permissions. They ask Helios to watch his language and not to behave impolitely. He disagrees. They came to ask her for a favor, and not the other way around. Tears begin to gather in his eyes again. The young man does not understand what he did wrong. This time, sitting down, the Duke extends his hand, asking if she would do them the honor of visiting the estate. The beauty nods. She can't believe it. She couldn't even dream that she would so soon refuse the Kalios family, because they believed in her. She will put all her efforts into treating Joshua. The priest calls Belza. He would like to exchange a few words with her. Before leaving, the Duke must go to the carriage first. Edwin steps forward. If you want to say something, say it in front of us. Smiling wickedly, the old man repeats again that he will take the novice only for a short time, since he is responsible for her, and so he wants to give her a brief parting word. The gentleman nods. They understand that the girl will need a little time to get ready. They will go to the carriage. The brunette finally says that if something unpleasant happens, they need to run to them immediately. The baby feels as if they are trying to protect her with all their might, or it is just a figment of her imagination. I want to hope that this is all real. The door closes. The joy of seeing her family overshadows the memories. Dunkeski was always terrible. Pretend to treat the boy as usual, and then come back. The old man always demanded that the sick not be treated completely, so that they would come back to the temple and pay. It was necessary to show the Kalios who was really in charge. He is greedy and evil. It becomes disgusting. The master orders to do everything, as he taught the disease that even Diana did not succumb to, is definitely beyond the capabilities of such an incompetent. There is no need to throw around empty boasting so as not to spoil the reputation of the temple. They are already in a precarious position. You need to know your place and not stick your neck out. If the maiden fails to cure Joshua, part of the large donation made by the Duke will have to be returned, and if successful, it will be confirmation that Berlot's abilities are not so great. For the shelter, the saint's abilities are the main source of income and pride. They don't want her position to be undermined. It would be much easier to return the donations. The lady is a bargaining chip. When the boy dies, she will be blamed for everything. In the temple, in fact, she is not considered a candidate for sainthood at all. A virgin is easier to use, easier to punish, and even easier to throw away when she becomes unnecessary. In her new life, the beauty will never allow herself to be used. She thinks she can heal the boy. They yell at her, "Are you possessed by an evil spirit?" And you'll end up in the obedience room like Ishmael. The youth had the ability to heal a year ago. He was called to the temple, and he returned to the orphanage only a couple of days ago, having completely lost his abilities, and even his voice. He spent the whole year locked up. Bells is raised as a candidate. She must be diligent in her past life. She heard these phrases countless times. Hopes were like poison, but no one ever recognized her gift. Neither she nor Ishmael were possessed by the spirit. But no matter how annoying what was happening, the lady would play along, and soon the Holy Father would get what he deserved. The little girl needs to hurry. They've been waiting for her for a long time, and at the end she calls the man names, and then takes off so as not to get any backlash. No matter what happens in life, the lady has those whom she will protect at any cost. Edwin waited for the lady near the carriage. Enough time passed. The young man asks if the old man said anything strange, and immediately a denial is heard. In fact, everything is fine. Nothing happened. In the past, Eddie had a strong dislike for the people from the temple. He never explained why. But nevertheless, he attacked Diana when she became a saint. Perhaps they truly loved with all their heart. Virgo states that she was simply asked to take good care of Joshua. She does not want to interfere with the young man. although deep down she is a little sad. After some time, the carriage arrived at its destination, and finally the girl found herself back at the estate. She hadn't been there for a long time and had begun to miss it. It is the sight of a beautiful residence that gives her the confidence that this place is her home, and it is nice to return home again. The Duke leads the lady down the corridor and apologizes at the same time for having to get straight to the point without giving her time to really come to her senses. Belza will have to go straight to Joshua. Callios lies in his room on his bed, suffering from an affliction that causes all his wounds to bleed more than usual, causing him to feel all stages of pain. Virgo feels strange when he sees in front of him someone who died in a past life. Perhaps there is something strange lurking inside, because the situations are quite similar. It's time to get to work. First, you need to check the condition. The bandage on the leg was applied recently, but it is completely soaked with blood. The bleeding does not stop for a long time. The girl recalls the past when the boy died, not from blood loss, but from cardiac arrest, which means that for now, albeit briefly, he is safe. An orange energy glows inside. This color indicates the unknown origin of the disease. In the past, one could only speculate, but everything has changed. Every time the boy was injured, his heart worked to the point of exhaustion. In this case, first of all, it is not the wounds that need to be treated, but rather he can be saved. The girl turns around, but freezes. The same aura emanates from Edwin Joshua's heart is the source of his illness, not his wounds. They are just a consequence. It becomes clear that we are dealing with a genetic disease. In a past life, they met after the healer's sight was lost. It is not surprising that nothing was noticeable. It's strange, but such energy is not visible at all from the Duke himself. Apparently, it was passed down from his mother, who died a long time ago. She needs to concentrate. Belza slaps her cheeks. She has the ability besides. Edwin's energy is weak, which means the illness is in a latent phase. It's good that the fire was immediately noticeable. In the case of the Duke's first son, the treatment will be fairly quick. The problem remains with Joshua. All this time, no matter who treated him, the treatment was focused on the wounds, not the heart. So it is necessary to take care of it before it is too late. The girl will definitely help. Dr. Gordon and Lady Gaston returned. The gentleman went to the temple. It seemed that he would be delayed, but in the end, the carriage arrived even earlier. The healer was late because he was buying medicinal herbs for the master. He notices the girl and sharply asks what she is doing, his hand on the boy's heart. The wound is in a different place. It's strange that they were looking for it near the chest. There's panic inside. It's completely unclear what to do next, how it would be best to justify myself. If the little girl says that she saw the cause of the illness, then her abilities will become known. She does not want to reveal her gift, but how else can she explain the situation? The old man shouts. Even though there is a child from the temple in front of him, he cannot touch the young gentleman as if nothing had happened. Gaston asks why they brought the girl. The woman is not simple. She is a personal servant who served the late Duchess, whom she took with her from her father's house, and also a nurse for Joshua's. Of all the servants, it was the one who felt the greatest dislike towards the little girl. In a dissatisfied voice, Madame asked if this was the same charge who had 10 times less strength than Diana. The man orders them to remain silent. They have an important guest in their house, whom he personally invited. In the future, Emma should choose her words wisely without offending anyone's dignity. Asking his lordship's forgiveness, the maiden departs. Gordon is assured that the candidate for sainthood can be trusted. It is already unbearable for him to see his son slowly fading away, losing his vitality. The young man supports his father, although the doctor still tries to speak out against him. That is, you want to say that we are making a mistake in trying to save Joshua. It is noticeable that even as a child, Edwin already has a strong character. He is similar to his adult self, just as unwavering and reasonable. The beauty is going to start treatment she has already tried earlier, but the problem is different. A ray of life is visible in the hand, which is barely visible. The power is felt inside, it flows through the veins, beats in a seething stream, but only a drop comes out. For this reason, in a past life, the gift was so weak. The beauty confidently gave her promise, believing that in her new life everything would be different. The words of the saint come to mind, who considered the gift lesser because of her weak faith in the goddess. Immediately comes the realization that Diana's words were most likely true, because then the lady did nothing but curse all the gods. She did not understand why she was given the fate of an orphan and was surpassed in everythings. The girl prays after all the goddess Aria sent her back, in time to give her a chance to correct all the mistakes she once helped to heal the boy. In exchange for help, the beauty promises that she will never hate Diana again. She will not interfere with her and Edwin, leaving the two alone. She will build her own happiness. In her past life, the goddess had already devoted too much time to Berloth, and the power within her increased, and everything around her began to glow, only confirming that everything was beginning to change. The girl freezes. She feels an enormous force bursting out of her body. Her hair floats in the air. The light moves forward right at Joshua. Everyone is surprised. Silence falls in the room soon. Everything becomes quiet. The lady sinks down. She still doesn't quite understand what awaits her next. Gaston is the first to panic. The young gentleman has not woken up, which means he is getting even worse. The doctor rushes forward to check his condition. Carefully removing the bandage, he gasps in surprise. The bleeding has stopped and a scab is beginning to form, meaning the healing process has begun. The energy of the disease emanating from Joshua almost disappeared. The critical point was passed. The maid was still unhappy. She knew that the orphan would be of no use. Suddenly, a voice is heard. The boy sits up in bed. He rubs his eyes and then asks why they are all gathered. A joyful cry. Finally it happened. Everyone rushes forward to the young man. The girl wanted to go ahead, but realized that she would be superfluous. They have a reason to be close, and she climbs under his arm. What is the point of this at all? Blue-eyed is the first to pay attention. He asks who is standing to the side. Of course they introduce him to Belzer. This is the girl who saved his life. He is happy. He knew that his sister would come. Thank you for keeping your promise. The girl is so tired that her head is spinning. The Duke asks his son what they are talking about. Edwin thoughtfully suggests going to rest. It seems that the lady is not quite well. Everything is swimming before her eyes. Her nose is bleeding. The blonde herself does not notice how she loses consciousness. She finds herself in a strange place. Judging by the setting, it is a banquet in honor of the goddess. Although not everyone will be able to become a saint, the children in the orphanage are special. They are all considered a blessing, and every year a banquet is held where talents are showcased. The priest calls Belza. He will not find her, because she knows that the physical body is nowhere nearby. Each time the maiden ran away and hid in the forest. She was very tired of the attention of patients, and this served as the impetus. And now she is transported to that very forest to find herself from the past. That day, the little girl met Joshua. She healed him and asked him to keep everything a secret for a favor she wanted to heal his heart, too. When she touched, she realized that it was more difficult than one might expect. Then, when the girl had already tuned in, the nanny's voice was heard. The heroine promised that when they met again, she would definitely heal him completely, and she ran away. When Belza was 4, she as usual was looking for a shelter to get away from everyone and not have to treat anyone. And that's how she met the Duke, frightened and wounded, and she helped him. Unlike her, Joshua remembered the promise he wanted to ask forgiveness for the fact that in that life, the girl let him down. This time, everything would be completely different. The heroine would not let him down. The blonde opens her eyes and jumps up. She doesn't remember anything as she lost consciousness after healing the Duke. Her gaze immediately went to the boy's heart to check everything. The condition has noticeably improved. The energy of the disease in the chest has weakened, which cannot but, please thank the goddess, all that remains is to heal the remaining wounds that remain on the body. Belzy stretches her hand forward. She just needs to finish the treatment. Edwin stops. Her blood is flowing from her nose again. This time the flow is much stronger, which means she needs rest. The boy takes a napkin to wipe his face. The saint tries to resist. There is no point in doing this. She just needs a short break, that's all. Then they will finish the treatment. It turns out that the lady slept for a whole day. First of all, she needs to think about her own health, and only then think about other things. The heroine cannot agree. If the treatment fails and Joshua dies, the Duke, as in his past life, will plunge into the abyss of despair. Last time, by focusing on the heart, the maiden did not heal a single cut. Doubts about abilities may arise. Then the heroine will be kicked out, and no one will complete the process. She says, "I still have strength left in me." The Duke intervenes. We need to stop treating Joshua. His voice is sad, and his eyes are no longer full of hope. It is obvious that this is all because the lady was unable to heal the wounds. In fact, since last year, the boy had never been so lively when his last meeting with the saint took place. The boy kept telling how the girl had healed her cut knee in the forest near the temple, but he did not go into details, answering that it was a secret. It turns out that it was Belzu who cured him. The picture came together. It became clear why the Duke's family took the girl under their wing after Joshua's death. Someone realized that a hereditary illness had brought him to the grave. The Duke's youngest son's full recovery will be delayed. But now that the girl's doubts have been dispelled, she is confident that she will be able to repay the Kallios family for all their kindness. It will be possible to save everyone in the family from the disease. The girl will gladly do everything that is asked of her. For now, she will rest. Everyone quarreled that she fell unconscious. It's good that everything ended well. Joshua can't bear to see his sister suffer. They see each other a year later. The heroine smiles. He's right that he's trying to care. A voice of protest is heard. Gordon steps forward. The Duke does not understand. Perhaps the old man no longer trusts the heroine, but it is not clear what the reason is. He states that the reason is different. The doubts that gnawed at the man faded before the undoubted talent of this child. As a doctor, he was extremely amazed by them, because he himself could not do anything about the illness of the young gentleman. Despite everything, the hero cannot allow the baby to continue treatment. Such a great power of holy force can destroy the body at the root, then everything will be over. The man watched from the side and personally confirmed that at the moment of loss of consciousness, the child's heart stopped. The blonde's eyes widened. She did not believe what was said. In her past life, the days spent in the prison dungeons, where the maiden ended up on charges of poisoning Diana, were no different from the underworld. Enduring torture and hunger, she discovered a new ability within herself. Kilian Iestard, the second prince of the empire, realized that what is called the blessing of the goddess, no matter how much the lady was cut, the wounds healed. She can even live without a heart. If the temple found out about this, she would be recognized as a saint. The Marquise, watching from the side, asked her to be careful with her words. The heroine was sentenced, and at that moment, the lady began to think about why all the troubles were falling on her head. The woman endured unspeakable pain, but as soon as her suffering stopped, she opened her eyes again and returned to the past at the age of 5. The lady is worried she doesn't even understand if she even has a heart since it stopped. How can this be? She didn't feel its beating in her chest from the very beginning. Doubts torment her. Despite this, she returned to the past. The heart must also be in place. It may be that what was taken away in the past did not return. In this case, the heroine is alive, only because she received the goddess's blessing. As the prince said, that time the lady becomes even more confused. She does not understand where this is all leading. The doctor sits down next to her and suggests that the enormous holy energy at such a young age led to a brief heart attack. There is no other way to explain it. The pulse is still weak and thread-like. In other words, demanding that the girl heal the young master is tantamount to asking her to give her own life in exchange. Gordon suggests forgetting about treatment, but the baby again tries to dispel doubts. Even though her heart remained in another timeline, she is still alive, and Joshua's condition cannot be allowed to worsen. The heroine suggests asking any of the temple's ministers. Each of them will confirm that there is no one more restless than the lady. The condition of the heart cannot be determined without a thorough examination. Gordon understands that the cause of the illness is unknown to him. He repeats himself, an argument unfolds. The lady promises to be more attentive. She will not stop trying. The Duke enters the conversation to have the last word. It is better to give them a little time to make a decision, for now. They will provide the lady with support, try to help. In response, the girl swears with everything she has that continuing the decision will not harm her health, and even if it does, it will be a completely personal initiative. Gordon is asked to prepare everything necessary. The beauty is certainly full of energy. The doctor is obliged to obey if that's what they say. All the medications that will help restore strength will be collected. Belze suggests using the Relius herb. It is best suited for recovery. The old man snorts because the price of the medicine is too high. The Duke, with just one look, forces him to agree. Gordon nods. It will be done. and next time he will return with the necessary herbs for the sake of healing. Joshua, the best ingredients will also be needed. There is no other way. For now, the heroine allows herself to breathe a sigh of relief. She has sorted out the treatment and the heart. But there is one more matter to be resolved. She wants to check on the condition of the Duke's eldest son. She needs to make sure that everything is all right. The girl treated Joshua, but while doing this, she was left with a strange feeling. Edwin definitely knows much more than he's saying. Intervening, the Duke wants to know why they treated the heart instead of the wounds. He never received an answer to his question earlier. Gordon agrees he is beginning to suspect something. He needs to take advantage of the opportunity. The blonde talks about the illness. The young gentleman suffered from an affliction that caused blood to flow constantly from any wound. Even Diana herself couldn't heal the scratches, so they came to check his organs. In that case, the heart took on all the load. The lady hopes that Gordon will guess everything she used. Two abstruse words and excuse comes to mind. I read it in a book. Edwin was only surprised by the fact that the beauty could read. The doctor understood everything. Apparently medical support was not enough. He obviously understood this before. There were thoughts that the cause lay in another organ, but doubts were discarded. Because Joshua is still young, apparently he relied too much on the ability of a young body to recover. The problem is not the speed of recovery. The disease affects the heart specifically, so it cannot restore blood flow even when the wound finally heals. Besides, the lady had read in the book that illnesses were hereditary, so she again insisted on examining Edwin. The doctor did not understand. There was no mention of anything like that in the Duke's family. It was only briefly suggested that the problem was not in the wounds. Most likely everything was passed down hereditarily through the mother's line. The doctor asks for forgiveness. He has no excuses. If he had managed to notice earlier, everything would have been different. The Duke asks everyone to raise their heads. He knows better than anyone how Gordon worked without sparing himself. Now that the source is known, the treatment will progress more successfully. Edwin didn't understand why they were dragging him along. They were reminding him that last year's screening had been missed, and since they suspected a genetic disease, they needed to get tested. It was a relief the boy would be able to recover. The happy days are coming to an end. The lady says goodbye to her family. It even seems to her that it was all a dream. She wants the peaceful time not to end. The temple sent a nun, especially because Belza spent the whole day at the estate and did not return to the orphanage, leaving nothing to do but say goodbye to Kallios. Grabbing the child by the hand, the woman dragged her to the carriage. Because His Holiness had been waiting for a long time. I would like to hope that at the next meeting, Joshua will be healthy. It's good that the mission is accomplished. The youngest son will recover, and the eldest will also undergo an examination freed from the threat. Before leaving, the young man asks not to call him young master. Before this, the girl calmly called him by name when she had not fully recovered. Such a familiar address to an aristocrat in a past life led to everyone hating Belzu. Belz, realizing that she made a mistake, begins to apologize, but she is stopped in time. Next time, she will call the gentleman by his name. They will definitely see each other soon. Whether it seemed so, or was it real, the young man smiled, in fact. Considering the fact that so much has changed, the beauty is no longer sure that they will be able to see each other again. Despite this, the lady hopes for it. The conversation turns to custody of the girl. It seems they've discussed everything. A long time ago, Joshua's condition has noticeably improved. But when Diana was in charge of the treatment, there was absolutely no progress. Logan, the Duke's advisor, enters the room. He disagrees, saying that, thanks to Berlot, several severe attacks were avoided, meaning the treatment was effective. The young man is asked a question that is quite logical. He is obliged to explain how there was no long-term effect then. The boy lay in bed and continued to lie there completely unconscious. Edwin is rude because he is tired of listening to tall tales. As far as we know, Logan is responsible for the temple donations. He is quite good at making up excuses. Everyone will mind their own business. The hero is telling the truth, because not only was Joshua not getting better, her gift had completely stopped working. Although in the temple, they said that the power only works on those who still have the will to live. The temple stopped all attempts, and without flinching, sentenced the boy to death. The father noticed how Edwin had matured. He considered that all the blame was on him, and wanted to take responsibility for his actions. The young man blamed himself for any wounds Joshua suffered. After returning from the temple, he locked himself in his room and did not come out for several days. When the guy finally came out, his eyes were red from tears, his hair was disheveled, everything indicated how much he was worried. He found out that there was another candidate for sainthood in the temple. He needed to find out more about her. The young man had always been quite collected for his age, but from that day on, those boyish traits no longer remained in him. Everything changed so chaotically. Even in a situation where his younger brother's life was hanging by a thread, Edwin did not show the slightest sign of excitement, thinking coldly and sharply, as befits a great heir of the family. Fortunately, the young gentleman's condition is improving day by day. However, there is no guarantee that a crisis will not occur again. The girl can be summoned frequently while donating money to the temple. It seems it would be better to take the baby under guardianship. Gordon agrees she has shown extremely outstanding abilities, and in addition, wonderful knowledge in medicine. The doctor was very interested in her assumption about a genetic disease, so he sent a telegram to the family doctor of the Marquis of Tebron in the homeland of his wife, Kalios. It turns out that in her family there were cases of sudden deaths from symptoms similar to Mr. Joshua's case. They will send a package of documents. A very clear course of treatment is planned for the young gentleman. The Duke did not even think of writing to his wife's homeland. He had already had a strained relationship with Tebron, and after the death of his daughter, they became even more distant. Gordon repeats again that the blame lies entirely with him since he is the attending physician. The brunette waves it off. You better be glad that we realized everything not too late. The issue of guardianship over Belza is not completely closed, but if you think about it, if they combine the medication and her ability to heal, it will definitely benefit the young man. The only thing that worries me is the girl's gaze. It's as if she can see right through people. The child has a powerful force, and also a rare eye color, an extremely ominous omen. Edwin asks if the doctor is angry with the girl. Because of the expensive herbs, he won't deny it. However, that's not the point. There really is something wrong with her. The Duke shrugs. Luck is not on the doctor's side. This time, everything will be different. Even though Belzy is considered suspicious, the young man has already managed to like her, so he will stand his ground. The girl looks very much like a bunny, just a cutie, especially since Kalios always dreamed of a daughter. And finally, they will have another member of the family. Logan raised an eyebrow. He was shocked because he wasn't imagining things. His lordship said exactly that. But Edwin liked the eyes, most of all. The color was bright like blood. The girl was sent to the priest. He was expecting her because they were planning a not very pleasant conversation. Everything is already known, they say. Thanks to help, the condition of the youngest offspring is improving. It would be best to explain how this happened. The beauty lowers her gaze and assures that, as she was ordered, she only pretended to treat him and did not try to overstep her bounds. A document is shoved in her face, and she wonders why the Duke sent it. Then, the girl raises an eyebrow and takes the opportunity to read the contents. The Duchy of Kalios, expressing its heartfelt gratitude for the assistance provided, asks for several things. Firstly, to establish sponsorship over the candidate for sainthood. Secondly, they wish to be given custody of the above-mentioned one, so that she can always be with them. The little girl's eyes light up with joy. She can't stop smiling. It becomes clear what the Duke meant when he promised that he would support Belzy in everything. The letter states otherwise, since during the visit of the candidate for sainthood, it became clear that Diana's treatment was completely ineffective. The duchy will not demand a refund, but asks for a full cost estimate. It's not clear why they would do this. They already know the cause of Joshua's illness, so there is no need to take Belzy under their wing. They can simply call her to the estate from time to time. The priest grabbed the girl by the shoulders. He ordered her to act as usual. However, she dared to disobey, deciding that she had the right to do as she pleased. Backing away, the girl justifies herself. She used a little holy power to make them believe her, but she didn't think that she would receive a complete healing. She wouldn't be able to get out of it. The wound suddenly healed. The girl was very surprised. Probably the goddess herself helped. The priest begins to scream. It becomes scary because the atmosphere around changes. The girl doesn't even realize how much she's messed everyone up by curing the little boy. Purple-black flames are gathering around the man's face. Never before had anything like this been seen. Joshua was supposed to die, and the Kallios were supposed to be plunged into grief and sorrow. It is hard to believe that the priest initially wanted to let the boy die. This was obviously the reason why the treatment had to be less than full strength. Her voice lowers. Belza has been given as many chances as she needs, but every time she opens her mouth, nothing but lies come out disputing her words. She shows that she is possessed by evil spirits. The girl is grabbed by other ministers. She screams that there are no spirits, but she is ordered to be silent. She will get rid of bad behavior in the obedience room. Only in a closed room will all anger and all temptation leave the soul, and after some time it will be able to beg forgiveness for all its sins. It is scary that it will have to be locked up again and lose its strength. Far away in the depths of the temple, there is a hidden place where naughty children are locked away. However, the goal is not re-education at all. It is there that those blessed by the goddess are deprived of their abilities. Such is the nature of the room in which Belza found herself again. Before this, Ishmael had lost the gift of the divine voice and had spent a long time locked up. In a past life, the saint herself lost her gift of healing for the same reason. But this time, the lady will not allow the priest to take away her ability. It's feeding time. The blonde is incredibly hungry, but there's no risk of mixing sleeping pills into her food, and who knows what else she hasn't figured everything out. Yet she needs to think about it. It is unclear how long they will have to endure all this horror, since the duchy has already sent a letter to the temple. They will definitely not abandon the child completely alone. Unfortunately, since the body is very young, there is not much strength to hold on. The beauty understands that she will not last more than 2 days. She hears a familiar sound. The sound coming from it is very similar to what Diana learned in her past life. An ancient dialect. Everything around begins to shake. Scarlet symbols fill the walls and floor. The magic manifests itself vividly, and it immediately becomes clear that they are not taking away the ability with the help of drugs at all. This entire room was created to absorb magical power. The little girl needed to get out as soon as possible. She believed that she had lost the ability to heal. She needed to hurry, otherwise everything would happen again. Her mind was gradually becoming clouded. Belze feels sorry. She wanted to help Eddie. At least this time, a familiar voice is heard. The lady is not sure if this is happening in reality. In a weak voice, she asks how he got into the cell. They are about to drag the girl outside. She apologizes, saying that everything happened because of her. In fact, in such a situation, there is no shame in asking for help. Then, as in the past, the young man pulled Belz out. He asked her to wait until he dealt with the pursuers. She asked him to believe her. "I didn't do anything like that, I swear." The brunette asked to wipe away the tears and handed over a box. "There is a heart in it. You need to look after it more carefully. It is an important part. The main thing is not to lose it." The members of the Kallios family are not afraid. There is no need to shake. She does not consider herself part of the family. However, it turns out that in honor of the 17th birthday gift, her father prepared adoption papers. The voice of one of the guards is heard. They are immediately about to run away. At the last moment, the man manages to swing at Belza, but Edwin pushes her away. He is pierced with a weapon, hitting right in the heart. Tears stream down her cheeks as the heroine begs the young man to hold on. She will definitely heal all his wounds. No matter what, the bleeding does not stop. All attempts are in vain. Eddie, gathering his last strength, raises his hand and calms down. There is no need to cry, because when he sees this, he feels helpless. The young man's eyes closed. The girl leaned against him, realizing that her heart had stopped beating. The Duke had died trying to save a member of his family, the one because of whom they were exiled. An explosion emanates from the heroine, causing the soldiers to fall dead. She was considered a witch who could not control her power. The girl opens her eyes. Everything is visible through a veil, but despite this, she understands that the young man is alive. It's good that everything is fine with Edwin, and the rest is completely unimportant. The heroine comes to her senses a little later. She has confused reality. The Duke is holding her in his arms. The temple servants have gathered around, not understanding what is happening. Apparently, his lordship pulled the girl out of the obedience room. The head priest asks how the gentleman came to them. The lady is happy that she left that place before all the powers disappeared. As ordered, Logan gathered all the staff from the temple. It was time to discuss something, although no one understood what was going on. Initially, they were all collected because the gentleman had a lot of questions. He picks up the bag that he found in the corridor, thanks to which he found the room. The girl understands that they are giving her back the very medicine that she begged from Gordon through force. The little girl tried to remember where she put the thing. It turns out that it was lost. The Duke came to the temple in search of the heroine, saw the bag, and immediately felt something was wrong. It's better to hurry with the explanations. The priest is shaking. I understand your confusion. They explain that the place is used to exorcise spirits, and last night, Belza was at the estate, where apparently an evil spirit possessed her during a ritual. Let it be. So the young man does not agree with the methods. The temple servants cannot be so cruel to a child the goddess bequeathed to protect those who are weak. The spirit has taken possession of the Holy Father. They will help him with the ritual of exorcism with the help of a sword. A voice is heard. Pope Montanus II. The pontiff is coming down. The little girl is surprised, because the man almost never visits shelters. But it turns out he came to offer congratulations. The candidate for sainthood was able to heal the duke's son, Callios, who was supposed to go out to the meeting, tries to stab the chief priest while being in a strange-looking room. The old man shouts that this place was specially built for educational purposes. The pontiff passes by and turns to Belza, a perfect opportunity to tell everything. The little girl nods. She saw her dad when she first came to the temple, but this memory seems distant. The minister does not emanate the same ominous energy as the others. One would like to hope that the words will be believed. The girl says that the room is called a place of obedience. Those children whom His Holiness considers disobedient, he declares to be possessed by an evil spirit and locks them up. Tears well up in her eyes as the heroine begs him to believe her that she is not possessed by any perfume. The man strokes her head. He promises that everything will be fine. Dunkeski is captured from that moment on. He will be excommunicated from the temple. Moreover, all the ministers involved in the incident will be punished in accordance with the Holy Scriptures. The master orders that everything be removed from the room and the premises locked. He does not understand what other crimes were committed within the walls of the temple. Apparently, even the Pope cannot read the ancient writings. I would like to tell everyone that the room is designed to deprive people of their abilities, but there is almost no evidence. We must be glad that all the horrors that happened in the shelter will finally stop. The Duke asks that the temple documents be handed over to him. They will forward them directly to the Imperial Bureau of Investigation so that they can thoroughly examine the incident and identify all those involved. The priest shouts, "He dedicated his whole life to this place. It cannot be taken away if the case is transferred. It is clear that they will treat him there as a common criminal." Well, if the Bureau finds out that the room was used to take away children's abilities, the pontiff doesn't know if he can agree, since this is an internal matter for the temple. Maybe it's not worth going that far. The child will soon be taken into custody. The document about this was signed personally by the Pope. The Duke returned to take the baby, but knowing what horrors the priests committed, they will not let it go unpunished. The pontiff nods. He has no choice but to agree. His Grace will leave all the worries to the master. Let him sort everything out himself. Dad is a good man. However, the white glow emanating from him symbolizes that the body is weakening due to age. He has about 4 or 5 years left. When his lifespan comes to an end, death cannot be avoided. A girl can only pray that a blessing be with the man, so that his allotted years pass as favorably as possible. Before leaving, the heroine asks to talk to the priest one last time. It is about Dunkeski, although they are about to take him away. With sweet eyes, Belza explains that her desire is quite natural. After all, he looked after her all these years. The heroine wants to say goodbye to him. So be it. Going down to the old man, the blonde addresses him by name. Since he is no longer a priest, thanks to memories from a past life, it became clear that the gentleman has the same energy as the knights who were chasing her with Eddie. Then she managed to destroy the squad, with the help of divine power, doing it in the blink of an eye. It is not clear how this happened, but in this life, the girl wants to try to do the same. The girl puts her hand to her face. She collects her thoughts, and having spoken her last words, uses sacred energy. He falls to the ground, asking the goddess to have mercy on him. The old man lost consciousness before leaving. The heroine smiles, wishing that the man would serve his time in the cell at the bureau, because that is what awaits him, nothing more. Finally, relief comes going upstairs. The maiden meets the Duke, putting his hand on her. He understands that she has a fever, just in case they order to prepare a carriage, and even better to contact Gordon. Logan suggests staying at the temple and performing a quick healing ritual, but the little girl, with all her strength, says that she doesn't want to linger, in which case they will immediately go home. Belza does not remember how she lost consciousness, but when she opened her eyes, she realized that the Nazir name was in the very room in which she lived. In the past, she finally returned to the Duke's estate. After the maiden had used a lot of energy to drive the spirit out of the priest, she fell fast asleep in his arms again, alarming everyone, making them think that the condition had worsened. Tara, the personal maid who will always be there, enters the room. It is a pleasure to meet her. Her eyes light up. The beauty does not understand how she could have forgotten about this meeting. Tara was one of the few people who treated her with warmth. She had a crowd of younger brothers and sisters, but at the same time, she brought all the whims with a smile, saying that the girl reminded her of her youngest. For some reason in the past, the lady decided that she was treated the same as everyone else, and was always compared to Diana behind her back. And as a result, in a stupid burst of pride, the girl fired her. After being fired, the maid realized how well the maid had treated her, but it was too late. None of the other servants liked Tara, because she always protected her mistress and was on her side. At the sight of his assistant, his heart is filled with joy. In his new life, everything will be different. Belzy imagines that the Duke has taken her under his wing, so she will live on the estate. The little one will appreciate those who treat her with kindness. The time has come to try on a dress. It is not too pretentious, but not too simple, so as not to stand out from the rest. The servants will no longer whisper condemning the beauty's outfits. In the past, they were always dissatisfied with something Tara offers to help by slightly adjusting the sleeves. The child is too small and fragile for her age. I can't believe that they didn't even feed the children properly at the temple orphanage. We need to take good care of my lady. Gordon said that the lady had recently fainted. He had prepared a new medicine, which was surprising because he had been walking around with a dissatisfied face when they first met. Although the temperature had already subsided, the maid had heard that the mistress was often unwell, and the medicine she had been given would definitely come in handy, as it would boost her immunity. Opening the package, the girl grimaces. The smell of the powder leaves much to be desired. It is also bitter. It is necessary to take everything, otherwise the young gentleman will not be allowed to treat her. Gaston enters the room. She is as usual, incredibly strict. She was told in advance to send the girl as soon as she woke up, but the subordinate did not do so, ignoring the orders. Tara tries to justify herself. The baby had to be brought by 3 o'clock. Of course it doesn't matter, the gentleman is waiting. The sooner you get to him, the better it will be. Under other circumstances, the girl would not have been allowed to even set foot on the estate. She would have remained in the shelter along with the others. The heroine needs to be grateful, since she ended up in the residence. For the sake of Joshua's treatment, she must do everything in her power to prove her right to be in this place. Tara tries to intervene, declaring that it is impossible to communicate with a child like that. She is assured that everything is fine. The girl does not dare to object. Emma is the servant of the late Duchess. Everyone respects her in the estate. It is impossible to act rashly, lest everything end extremely badly. Since the Duke brought Belzy, she will not miss the chance. Although she is sure that he does not think the best of her, she needs to prove that help will be provided to Joshua. The little sister is met by a boy who has been waiting for a long time. A smile appears on his face. The only thing is that it is not clear why he calls the novice like that, as if he does not know that they are the same age. The gaze turns downwards. The condition of the heart, fortunately, has not changed in any way. On the contrary, everything is stable and good, which means the treatment will go according to plan. Gordon notices that the girl looks quite cheerful, which is good because it means the medication is helping. The fever is gone. She has plenty of strength, which is also a pretty good sign. Thanks to the help and medicinal herbs, the girl fully recovered. The doctor knows everything about the correct treatment. If any illness occurs again, you need to contact him directly. If everything goes well, the gentleman will not need any medicine, although the treatment itself may be a little unpleasant. But if everything is endured courageously, the Duke will reward his son. The boy asks for one wish. It's sweet that he doesn't even need much. Only this smiling, the beauty nods. In that case, it's better not to cry and hold on until the very end. It's time to get down to business. Last time we managed to suppress the main source of the disease, and now all that remains is to remove the secondary symptoms of the illness. There's not much work to do. Energy bursts out. What is happening is reminiscent of how the girl used power on the priest, a completely new, unknown feeling, in order to prevent the disease from taking deeper roots. You need to act carefully. The blonde goes further. There is still a little left to completely finish the treatment. Then Emma throws Belzy aside. You are a stupid girl. You don't see that the master is in pain. How dare you? Gordon yells at Gaston, trying to make it clear that all this was part of the treatment. The heroine gets up. She almost did something irreparable due to a sharp push to the side. The healing process can indeed be painful, even to the point of losing consciousness, but there was very little left to bring the matter to a victorious end. Gaston screams, if something happened, the blame would fall entirely on the shoulders of the candidate for sainthood. The boy says nothing while the girl is blamed for the fact that he feels this way. The young man's wound itches. He tears off the bandage, but there's nothing underneath. He can't believe the scab has completely gone, meaning the healing has been successful. The girl is confident that she will be treated more favorably in the future. What happened shows that her treatment is helping Joshua. All that remains is to convince Emma of this so that she will no longer interfere. So far, the condition has improved significantly, but they have only passed the first stage of the necessary process, and this process will require a stronger concentration of holy power. A little earlier, the maiden was able to complete the healing safely and quickly, but if she had been pushed away before the remaining energy was removed, the young master could have been seriously injured. I hope that you will not interfere anymore. The nanny wants to start screaming, but the boy stops her. He agrees with what was said because his sister really tried to help him, but instead she got a problem. Besides this, Emma herself said that if a person has done something wrong, it is better to immediately ask for forgiveness, bowing her head and saying, "Forgive me." The brunette was worried that the young gentleman might get worse, so she acted extremely rudely. It was completely wrong. Belzy interrupts. She would like to promise something. The reason Gaston is acting this way is because she is too worried about the Duke. She has promised that the young man will be cured. She just needs to trust. The girl is shown medications. Last time, they gave her a tincture to strengthen the heart, and the new drug will enhance the effect of the previous ones and relieve pain. It is not surprising that the healing remained at the same level and even became more effective. Gordon is a real master. He is certainly proud of himself. Edwin came into the room and asked if the treatment was over. Perhaps it was because the girl had not expected to see him soon, but for some reason she felt awkward in his presence. Belzy is asked about her condition. The answer is interrupted, although the young man allowed them to call him by his name. But this does not mean anything. It is better to call him young master. The beauty is asked to remember what they agreed on. The younger brother hurries to them, who does not understand when they manage to become friends. Then call me by my name too, Josh. Shrugging his shoulders, the young man explains that the boy can also become friends with her. She is not his sister. The Duke insists on his own. If there is a girl in the estate, she is automatically considered a sister. The blonde decides to report that when the sacred power was directed at him, the wound healed. It is impossible to imagine how cool it was. The young man also needed to watch and not sit in class. Edwin asks to take a look, because he still doesn't believe it. The girl feels a strange atmosphere turning around. She meets the gaze of Madame Gaston. Emma looks at the Duke's eldest son with incredible contempt. It would be understandable if she hated Belza, since she is much weaker than Diana. But what is happening is quite strange. Raising her voice, the woman addresses Eddie calmly, reminding him that he should be at sword-fighting training. I think it's time for you to leave. Gordon intervenes to change the course of events a little. Joshua needs rest, so he needs to leave the room. The boy will be left alone. Before that, he asks about the wish that was promised. Blue Eyes wants to be played with the baby, has recently arrived at the estate. They haven't had time to really spend time together. Yet it's not right. The doctor thanks Edwin for finding time to visit his brother, although he is busy with his studies. He was on a break between classes, so it wasn't a problem. And we're talking about a new medicine for Belza that was created not long ago. While the doctor was preparing new medications for Joshua, he decided to do the same for the girl. She needed to be taken care of. She was already taking on too much. Last time she had overloaded herself. It's impossible not to notice that the young gentleman is not indifferent to the girl since he asks about this. The brunette snorts and denies it. It is considered to be human concern, simple gratitude for the help his brother received. It is time to leave, otherwise he will have to miss class. The doctor stops the young man to warn him that it is already obvious to everyone that Gaston's attitude has noticeably worsened since he and Joshua went for a walk. The young man brushes it off. It is obvious that she will behave like this when the Duchess died. The woman suffered greatly because she became very attached to her youngest son, who looked so much like him. Gordon understands. But despite this, it is worth knowing that the behavior is still unacceptable. The brunette remembers that the boy really got hurt that time. Because of him, he feels sorry for his younger brother. One can understand her anger, because it was because of that wound that her brother's condition began to noticeably worsen. He had not been seen happy for a long time. She should just be glad that he is no longer in pain. The blonde shows his sister everything that was given to him. There are various jewelry in the box. When the girl was asked to play, she did not suspect that they would be playing with family jewels. The little girl is offered to put on a ring. She decides to play along. It turns out that this is the Duchess's ring. Everything in the box belonged to his mother. If he were older, would he have necessarily worn anything? The boy does this because he misses his mother. A good idea comes to mind. The girl suggests hanging a ring around her neck, since it is too big for her finger. This is of course not forever. You can't leave it on the bandage. Then the Duke will make a chain. The young man hugs Belza because he wants to express his gratitude. I really like everything as it is. The guy gave the girl a necklace that he thought was perfect for her. Rubies suit her very well. They are playing at being princes, which means she will also become a prince, even though she is a girl. Gaston came into the room along with Tara. It was believed that it was time to stop playing, or even better, to return to their room to rest a little. The boy tries to ask her to stay, but only the heroine understands that there is no need to drag it out. They will definitely play next time, because after all, there is enough time in them. From now on, Belz will live in the estate. It's time to clean up, starting to put the jewelry in the box. The Duke is going to clean everything himself, because he knows how and where the jewelry was stored. It seemed that the nanny had calmed down a little after recently. Even in her past life, she and Edwin rarely exchanged a word, but there was no idea how strained the relationship was. It's hard to believe that something happened between them, later the girl asks Tara. A question she should probably know: what happened between the young gentleman and Gaston. The little girl couldn't help but notice the strangeness. It seems that they don't get along very well with each other. It became interesting to know what happened. The maid nods. She herself is not sure of the answer, but she can explain it more simply. It all started with the last walk, when Mr. Joshua got injured. That time, his condition noticeably worsened, bringing with it even more problems that could no longer be overcome. Before this, Emma had always had a special attitude towards the gentleman, who was very similar to the late Duchess. But after that incident, a chasm opened up between her and the gentleman, and everything noticeably changed for the worse. It turns out that in the past, the gentleman's youngest son died after one walk, and the lady in turn hated the young man. It's better to talk about something positive. The boys played games with jewelry, even with a ring. Tara asks about the jewel with the blue stone. The late Duchess loved this ring most of all. The boy rarely takes it out of the box. It's better not to mention this in front of the nanny. The lady didn't know how much trouble the jewelry would bring. A few days later, the gentleman plans to go away with Edwin to the temple. For a short while, Logan doesn't understand what the point is, since all the business with them had already been settled long ago. It turns out that more papers need to be signed to finally take Belz under his guardianship. The Duke was planning to go alone, but the boy decided that priests couldn't be trusted, so he would keep an eye on them. While there is no head of the estate, an assistant is left to keep an eye on everything. The young man nods and promises that everything will be fine. The main thing is to be careful. Tara informs the lady that the Duke and his eldest son have left the estate. Joshua's treatment will be suspended for a while. I wonder what the girl plans to do. The blonde asks to bring her paper and a pen. She still doesn't write very well. It will be just right to practice a little, since the moment she managed to get into the past. There was no time to think everything over. The reunion happened much earlier than expected. Now there were many things to do, for example treatment. There was no chance to figure out what the future life would be like. The first 2 points on the list are ideal. Virgo is as kind as possible, doesn't treat anyone rudely, and punishes people who hurt her loved ones. In general, she can handle the third point as well. In order to prepare for emergency situations, strength is needed. Virgo knows where to find the important ingredient, so you don't have to worry about money. All that remains is to find your heart. In Edwin's past life, it remained, but it's unclear where it might end up. While the heroine is little, she can justify herself by saying that she is little, but when she grows up, it will be much more difficult. While she is looking for a heart, she needs to be careful and not attract attention. There is a noise outside, going out into the corridor. Bells sees Madame Gaston and the maids. They will have to search the room, not understanding for what purpose they will do, this Tara asks again. It turns out that the late Duchess's ring has gone missing. And what's more, a ribbon from a dress was found in the corridor between Josh's rooms and the estate's new occupants. The only people who knew where the ring was were Emma and the young master. They ask for assistance, but the maid resists. Why are you accusing us of theft? Most likely, no one in the Duke's family would try to steal the ring, which means it is logical to suspect a stranger who recently appeared in everything. In such situations, it is better not to be stubborn, especially if she is innocent. The beauty steps away and invites the maids inside, so that they can examine everything. The maiden remembers that the boy put the jewelry in the box, but it is not clear what the thief's goal was. One of the maids screams that she has found a similar ring. Gaston takes a closer look and gasps. The girl freezes in horror. Her head can't wrap her head around the fact that she was set up. Starting to scream, the girl assures that she did not touch the jewelry, but she is not even allowed to speak out. The head maid is sure that Belza is to blame for everything. Things are bad. The heroine didn't need to know where the ring was kept, and after that, it was found in her room. She understands that everyone will suspect. It seems that this is the end, but then Joshua appears in the room. The gentleman is trying to catch his breath. He obviously ran the whole way. He feels unwell. The young man is crying, while he assures that his sister did not steal anything. She even made him a pendant. One of the maids intervenes, believing that the candidate for sainthood has deceived her master. Otherwise, why would her ribbon have been found in the corridor leading to the room? The girl begins to understand that everything is not right. She asks who found the ribbon. That same maid discovered it when she was cleaning. Bells is sure that she will be able to expose the lie. Something doesn't add up because not many people saw how that very ribbon was tied around Joshua's neck. Only Belzatara and Madame Gaston were there. The heroine's eyes sparkle. She wants to understand how exactly it became clear that this particular ribbon belongs to her. The maid tries to justify herself. Did you really take this child's words so seriously? There is no bias towards the young lady. No one will try to falsely accuse her. The ring was really decorated, and for a completely logical reason. A voice is heard, the door opens. The Duke and Edwin stand on the threshold. The maid is detained to sort everything out, to understand what is true and what is not. The man is menacing. He had no idea that such terrible things would happen right under his nose. He will personally interrogate the suspect. Emma tries to assure that there is no point in this. I will talk to the children myself. The maid intervenes. There is nothing to investigate because the stolen ring was really found in this room. Of course, it is Belza's fault they try to shut Anna up, but only the Duke can do it. It is necessary to imagine that the girl is innocent, and then the true criminal will be guilty not only of courage, but also of insulting a member of the ducal family, for which he will be exiled. It was the candidate for sainthood who saved Joshua's life. She is part of the family that Kallios personally recognized. The insults inflicted on this child are tantamount to an insult to the family. Edwin advises praying to all the gods while the investigation is ongoing. He hopes that the culprit will not be Anna, who so brazenly showed how much she is against it. The Kallios do not forgive those who harm the family. If guilt is proven, the punishment will be more than cruel. Emma assures that the maid would never do such a thing, and then she falls to her knees. The woman begs and asks for forgiveness. Debt collectors hunt her daily. She owes so much that she has had to steal things, preferably jewelry, so that they would be worth more. Previously, the maid overheard a conversation between Gaston and Logan, from which she managed to find out where the box was located. She found out where the jewelry was and took the most expensive ring from there. The Duke orders the knight to seize the woman. She would not have done such a thing if her life was dear to her. She is led away while cries are heard that such a thing will not happen again. The girl breathes a sigh of relief. It's lucky that everything is over. If the Duke and Edwin hadn't come, they would have definitely blamed her for everything. It's scary to imagine what kind of punishment would have awaited her in that case. Gaston comes up and asks for forgiveness. She lost her temper when she learned that the ring of the late Duchess was missing. Without investigating, the blame immediately fell on Belza's shoulders. Even though Anna was more suspicious, Emma didn't want to think badly about someone she had known for a long time. The blonde realized that in such a situation, the way she thought seemed quite logical. Nodding, the little girl accepts the apology and thanks she can't be angry, so it's better to pretend that nothing happened. The lady refuses. I realize my guilt, so I will leave the mansion. After the incident with the ring, Gaston was really going to leave. The Duke tried to persuade her to stay, but Emma was adamant, and in the end, as she wished, she quietly left the estate. The woman understood that if she stayed, she could inadvertently distance the gentleman from his peers with her care. Belza helped the boy, but the lady went so far as to blame even her. Joshua couldn't stop crying. He didn't see anything wrong, the maid just missed the Duchess. It was she who taught him to play the prince and allowed him to play with his mother's jewels. One day, the young man saw the expression on the woman's face as she looked at the things that used to belong to her mother. It was very sad and her heart was broken. If he had known what would happen, the hero would never have taken out the ring. Emma tries to calm the young Duke down because she doesn't want him to be in even more pain. Gaston is happy that she had the chance to take care of such a wonderful person. Belza thought that, at least in the new life, they would be able to get along. Obviously, she was wrong. It's a bit of a pity. The lady says goodbye to the lady. She understands that having witnessed the miracles that Diana was able to perform, she could not fully trust her. She is told that everything is not so. If I manage to meet her, I will tell her that there is no need to worry about you. The heroine explains that she was always worried that the girl's strength was too weak, constantly asking how she could help. And after seeing the girl in action, Gaston stopped worrying, realizing that everything would be fine. It's sad to realize that the situation had worsened long before arriving at the estate, since Diana spoke so much about the candidate for sainthood while she was at the estate. It is not at all surprising why there was such a biased attitude. The only thing that is not clear is what prompted Berlotte to speak out in this way. She said that she was only worried, but perhaps the reason was a little different. Joshua distracts his sister. She has been standing by the window for a long time, and staring out mindlessly. The blue-eyed one is sadder than ever. He is very upset by Gaston's departure. The baby doesn't want him to be lonely, so she's going to spend a little more time with him, and they're going to play. Edwin hadn't been seen for a long time. He should have been training, but he doesn't like being watched, so his younger brother never saw him train. The Duke's eldest son's fencing abilities were outstanding from childhood. It would be great to see this, but coming without permission would be considered very rude. A few days later, peace and order were restored in the estate. From that day on, two major changes occurred. The attitude of the servants changed, and another maid came instead of Emma. When she had free time from treatment, the heroine went for a walk in the forest, on the estate, searching for the source of her future wealth. Fairy grass, a magical plant famous for its amazing skincare effects and growing only in the forest. For several days in a row, the girl hunted for the plant, but failed. She resigned herself to the fact that she would again leave empty-handed. The clanging of swords is heard attracting attention. The heroine forgot that there was a training ground nearby. She completely forgot about it. Edwin was training there, which meant there was an opportunity to watch. The little girl asked herself not to be led, but in the end, she still went into the bushes to observe. She was too curious. As long as no one noticed anything, you can consider that there are no problems. They shout at the boy. He moves too slowly. He will not become the heir of Kalios when he can't even move. Normally, Belza freezes, even though it's just training, the words are too offensive. The trainer asks if Eddie is deaf. He repeats several times that he should relax his leg. The brunette resists. If he relaxes his legs in a fight, the speed will increase. But when fighting a strong opponent, a stable position is extremely important. Sven Zoriak orders to take up the sword again. He was once one of the Duke's knights and fought shoulder to shoulder with him, but having received a wound in the leg, he soon retired. For his services on the battlefield, the master hired him as an instructor for his eldest son so that he could learn new techniques and become stronger. In the past, the girl had never been to training, so she had no idea how everything went. The young man was being trained cruelly, without any mercy. It's obvious that Zoriak is openly mocking the guy. He makes the boy fall, but doesn't give him time to catch his breath. "I'm sure you're just pretending to be tired." The brunette shouts that a weakling cannot be called the future of the duchy, because then they will all die out, unable to bear it any longer. The girl comes out of the bushes, quickly apologize. Bells is against it. "You can't talk about Edwin like that. He will become a worthy duke. He will lead the family to prosperity and glory." She tries to beat Sven, forcing him to jump back. The girl would not allow anyone to behave like this, especially when it came to Eddie. She shouted several more times, ordering him to apologize immediately. Later, I had to go to the master to report the situation to him. The famous knight was beaten to a terrible state, and all this was done by some girl. The rumors about the candidate for sainthood were false, after all. Sven didn't expect this. Her fists are very heavy. The beauty repeats that the Duke's son was insulted, which is unacceptable. Eddie himself intervenes in the conversation. After all, it is about him. He explains that he himself asked for such training. He wanted to quickly become stronger, because he is so weak that he cannot protect the people he loves. The young man was deliberately provoked. It's hard to focus on the main thing when a person is being insulted. Ultimately, bells fell for the provocation. The Duke turns to her, asking if she has heard about the Squad of Shadows. They talked about it in the temple. That's what they call the people who guard order in the country. That's right. The heroine gave the correct answer. The Squad of Shadows are the Duke's swords. They really do act from the shadows. And for many generations, they have been the most trusted people. It's surprising that they remembered this so suddenly. It turns out that Edwin wanted to take command of part of the squad, on the condition that he could defeat Sir Sven in battle. It is for this reason that the intensity of the training was increased, because a squad of shadows is at stake. The knight himself is not bad. He is a loyal comrade of the Duke. The young man has saved the man's life more than once in difficult battles, and he is trusted more than anyone else, so Belza shouldn't take things so seriously. The little girl nods. Since Zoriak is trusted so much, she will do everything to leave what happened behind. She asks for forgiveness. In response to this, he laughs. "Have you ever wanted to become a knight?" Tears well up in her eyes. It is obvious that the girl will burst into tears very soon. The brunette really appreciates the courage with which Bells rushed to help the gentleman. Despite the positive emotions, sometimes the desire to sacrifice oneself for the sake of others can lead to disastrous consequences. It is worth trying not to make others worry. It's a shame that a good man was almost slandered. Edwin asks what the girl forgot at the training ground. "What business could you have there?" "I have to make excuses. Recently, I happened to read a plant reference book, so the little one decided to see what plants the Duke has in the forest. The little girl says that she was looking for something special. The plant should have pink leaves in the shape of a heart and a very sweet, pleasant aroma. Most likely even the Duke's son himself does not know where to look for the herb. Surprisingly, the young man declares that he understands what is being discussed, and he leads the lady to a tree under which the fairy grass is located, a plant so rare that even Gordon doesn't have it in his collection. The young man had discovered the herb quite by accident, even before Joshua fell ill. They often wandered through the forest to explore the area, and on one of their walks, they came across a clearing. The girl notices that a scratch has appeared on the Duke's cheek. Most likely he received it as a result of training. The brunette did not notice it right away, but he thinks that it does not matter. The beauty smiles and uses force to heal the wound. The young man reacts violently. He abruptly pushes the hand away from himself, stepping back. In a rough voice, Eddie reminds him of how badly the use of force affects the body. A small scratch is not worth it. The girl assures that she is fine, so nothing will happen. She always behaves like this, even when she really feels bad. The teacher said the right words. The candidate for sainthood is often too fearless, does not spare herself at all. The young man recalls the time when the little girl lost consciousness. She didn't even think about what it would be like for them, waiting and hoping that soon she would be able to open her eyes again. The heroine's eyes reflect fear. It becomes clear that the evil voice frightened her. Edwin asks for forgiveness. He just wanted to show that you need to try to be more careful. I wonder if the young man is really that worried about the girl. It is obvious that he is. And that is precisely the reason why he asks her never to do this again. After returning to the past, the heroine tried to return the Duke's kindness and decided that no matter what happened to her, there were people around her who would show care. Smiling, she has to assure him that everything will be better in the future, and the heroine will try to make sure that the boy doesn't have to worry. Gordon puts a plaster on his cheek. They went to his office, even though the command of the Shadow Squad is at stake. One cannot overdo it so much. The young Duke is confident that he will be fine. After talking with the gentleman, the misunderstanding was resolved, but in some places the "sir" sometimes goes too far. It is noticeable to the naked eye. Edwin knows better than anyone what is right, because he is the one who is training the doctor. Calls Belza to him. He hands her a bag containing the medicine from the Relius plant that she asked for. Now the girl will not faint thanks to the medicine. She will always be full of strength and energy. But it is worth keeping in mind that many expensive ingredients and time were spent on its preparation. The heroine declares that she has something more interesting in return. She takes out a bag, an enticing smell. Immediately appears pleasant. The man does not believe that they brought him fairy grass. In his past life, Gordon had a similar hobby, collecting strange herbs from all over the place. But his collection had several empty spaces, and one of them was intended specifically for fairy grass. The old man's hands are shaking with excitement. He asks where the lady found the treasured specimen. No one answers. It's a company secret? Edwin raises an eyebrow. Is this really such a valuable herb? The man, bursting with enthusiasm, explains in detail that fairy grass is a common plant that has an amazing effect on facial skin. Some studies even say that the skin becomes better than that of a fairy. The girl is confident that she will be able to grow the plant. She declares that she wants to do this. Of course she can try, but such a small sprout will wither before it begins to bloom. Probably, if there is more grass, success will also come. Gordon jumps up, asking where the plant grows. It's a secret I already told you. If you don't help, I will be dumb as a fish. The old man stops the girl. If he is allowed to get a little more information, he will definitely be able to help. Perhaps it will be possible to come up with something successful. He fell for Belza's hook, smiling. She says that she found the fairy grass in a place where there was very little sunlight, and there was an old tree nearby, most likely an oak. There was no water source there, which means this plant is a parasite. Next time, the heroine should take some bark from the tree with her, or at least a soil sample, so that she can study it in detail. Just a minute ago, the old man was screaming that nothing would work. He really was a genius, since he was able to change his train of thought so quickly. He was interested in what purposes the plants would be grown, for the grass helps the skin, but it tastes bitter. You can't even add it to tea. In the original story, Diana used the medicine and made aromatic sachets out of it. However, a lot of the plant was required to create it, and only a couple of sachets were produced. The girl knows a much more interesting way to preserve the aroma, which requires a small supply of herbs. The little one won't tell you more. Again, it's a company secret that she'll keep. The man snorts that he didn't really want to know more. So it doesn't matter anymore. The blonde justifies herself. I just want to give it to you as a gift. You need it, right? Perhaps it wasn't clear yet, but she's giving a bribe. It's good that they will become accomplices. That's exactly what she's trying for. It's hard to believe that the heroine just gave away such a precious plant. The doctor asks to trust him. He will plant the entire garden with grass if necessary. I want to rejoice because there is one less problem. The problem with growing fairy grass has been solved. This will be only the beginning of what the beauty is going to accomplish. The world has medicines, doctors, and even magic that can save the terminally ill. But there is nothing that the noble ladies of the world would like to receive. A drug that slows down aging and cares for the skin. Using the herb as a basis, Belza will be able to calmly start a business based on cosmetology. Gordon will be the chief physician, and the beauty will become the director. For now, she will not reveal the purposes for which she will develop the medicine. All the beauty can say is that if she manages to grow the herb at home, it will be a huge breakthrough in medicine. Of course, the man is involved. However, it would be even better if they told him where she is. Growing up, things will go faster. The baby will tell everything when everything grows up. This will take about 3 months, just in case the location will be kept secret. Tara turns to Gordon. It's time to stop arguing with my lady. They've been shouting so much that the entire estate has been on its ears since early morning. It's impossible to tell which of them is 5 and which is 65. The Duke wishes to see the lady. He has something important they need to talk about. Edwin steps forward. If so, he should go too, because he knows what he is going to say. Tara hesitates in place and then calmly explains that Kallios wishes to discuss the matter alone with Belzi. If the young gentleman wants to say something, he can convey it to the maid, who in turn will talk to him. The heroine is surprised she does not quite understand what they will talk to her about. Later, the lady was brought into the gentleman's office. He nods, inviting the girl inside, noticing how tense the blonde is. The young man assures that the conversation will not be about the incident when she beat Sven. At first, the man wanted to do it later, but so much has happened since then that he changed his mind. A secret passage opens, which was located right behind the bookcase. Follow me, I want to introduce someone. The heroine had no idea that there was a secret passage in the estate. No one had told her about it in the past. The staircase was long, and the end was in sight. Understanding that the girl might be tired, the brunette lifts her up in his arms. It is quite dark downstairs, so it is easy to stumble. But if it is uncomfortable, she has the right to ask to be let go. All that remains is to thank her. He smiles in the past. The Duke seemed cold and stern. She considered him distant. However, she was lucky she finally realized that she shouldn't be so afraid of him because she is protected. It turns out that the passage leads to a storage facility, access to which is only given to members of the Kallios family. It is certainly known that about a century ago, the family participated in religious wars. The underground room contains ancient trophies from those years. The first thing the little girl notices is Archaea's arrow. She listened well in lessons at the temple school. They say that with its help, the first saint defeated demonic creatures. At another site, there is a ring of a dark heretic cult. This story is also familiar. Not only sacred relics were found, but also objects of heretical cults from a past era. The beauty read about everything in old manuscripts. She was lucky to be fully informed. However, something doesn't quite add up. It's not clear why the gentleman showed the secret storage. Behind the glass is a teddy bear. It will be given to Belza. It is not just a toy, as she might have thought. In front of her is an artifact created by a secret cult that imprisons souls in various objects. Squatting down, the young man hands the girl a toy, inviting her to get acquainted. From this day on, the thing will serve as a protector. The blonde carefully examines the toy with her eyes. She doesn't understand how a teddy bear can protect her. No matter how you look at it, it has absolutely no special features. The Duke smiles and agrees, but explains that first, before using it, she needs to imbue the bear cub with holy power. Once she does this, it will become her faithful guardian, as well as a symbol that she is under the protection of Kallios. The girl just needs to repeat everything the same as during the healing of Joshua. She is not sure, but she will try. Since the master gave the thing worrying about safety, she needs to put in all her strength. A moment later, the heroine realizes that the bear is sucking the strength out of her. It seems that he is absorbing it no less than the Duke's youngest son. Great power can be felt. The little girl doesn't understand what to do next. Her strength is waning. She's afraid that she'll lose consciousness again, and she doesn't want that at all. Kallios puts his hand on the lady's shoulder. Don't worry, you're a smart girl. Gathering the last of her energy, the girl nods. She will do everything in her power not to let the man down, since this is his first gift. There is very little left, and everything will be finished. It worked. The bear glows brightly. The contract was signed. The heroine raises an eyebrow. She doesn't notice any changes. Now she needs to give him a name. It's not clear what we're talking about, because how can this help with the formation of protection? It's better to choose a short name to make it easier to remember. It is extremely difficult to choose something worthy right away. The girl feels lost and does not understand how to proceed. The idea comes to her by itself. The lady calls the toy Mikhail. It stops glowing. A second later, the thing comes to life and jumps out. It does a great somersault and lands on the floor. The girl stretches out her hands to take the toy when she called him. She accidentally stumbled. Then he took it seriously, deciding that he would be called Mikhailo. From that day on, starting with the toy, the Duke began to shower his daughter with gifts. He insisted that this was only a symbol of the protection of the Kalios family, but it ceased to resemble anything like that. It all started when one fine day, they decided to move the girl to another room, sending all her things there, of which there were quite a lot. The little girl was presented with many dresses, accessories, even furniture. The mountain of gifts gradually grew, and they all still had to be sorted out. So as not to get under the servant's feet, she decided to go for a walk. Even in the garden, the beauty has absolutely nothing to do. She went out to get some fresh air, but before she could think of what she would do, Joshua was doing cardio workouts to strengthen his heart, and Gordon was busy with the plants. Only Edwin remained, who was most likely also busy with something. Despite her assumptions, the beauty decided that she would still go and look for him. One of the servants reported that the young master was indeed busy. It turned out that he was training with Sir Sven on the field. They brought the little girl a huge picnic basket. She asked for it herself, because it turns out they will soon have a lunch break, and they need to send food to them so as not to waste time moving around. At the butler's request, the maiden went with him. She didn't know if the training was intense, despite what it was for. She understood that Zoryak was overdoing it. She could be wrong, but the training looked like ordinary bullying. The heroine understands that there is nothing to worry about. The Duke would not have allowed her to go so far without a good reason. Obviously, the training has not yet been interrupted. The lady will wait. The man yells at the boy to stand on both feet while he continues to press. The little girl gets scared. They fight with real swords. It is strange that real weapons are used. The young man is not yet exhausted. He can continue. Suddenly Bells is visible in the distance, while the hero is told that a weak commander will inevitably sacrifice his subordinates. When Sven gets carried away, he gets furious and attacks his opponent. And no matter who is in front of him, if he notices a girl, anything can happen. He can't be allowed to notice the saint. The brunette asks why the enemy froze. He didn't understand if someone was standing behind him. The gentleman is about to mislead Zoryak. He calmly asks if the knight regrets saving Edwin's father. Lowering his voice, the man clarifies what they're talking about. Just now, the conversation was about a weak commander, because the boy thought that his trainer regretted sacrificing himself for the Duke. This topic is especially unpleasant for him, at least as long as he focuses on Eddie Belzy will be safe. The sparring needs to be finished quickly. Zoryak comes closer, wondering if the young man is really so confident that he started talking about something like this right in the middle of training. Apparently, he has plenty of nerve. Raising his sword again, the young man declares that if he manages to win the fight, he will give an answer to this difficult question. He shifts his weight to his left leg, meaning he will attack first. It is necessary to increase the distance. However, nothing works, because the sire rushes back. He knew from the very beginning where Bells was, and that she had arrived. His lordship rushes after him. He understands that he won't make it in time, because the teacher is too fast. He should notice one more detail that Zoryak is talking about. Those who are too confident in their own strength will never protect those dear to their hearts. Sven swings his sword at Bells. The beauty freezes. She is scared. Her whole life flashes before her eyes. Obviously, she is being hurt. She shrinks, expecting that it will soon hurt. The Duke appears at the very last moment, holding the sword with which he parried the blow in his hands. In a menacing voice, he asks what he was going to do. Who did you just point the sword at? Zoryak steps back. He declares that he did not intend to hurt the beauty. He would not have dared to do this, because the saint protected Joshua. The excuses sound pathetic. The man continues to insist that everything is clear. He directed the sword in such a way as not to cause Belza any harm. Although his intentions were not serious, he should not have acted so rashly. The knight's body is no longer what it was. Before the knight feels anger inside himself. How can you say such a thing, Your Grace? The fire that flares up is seen only by the saint. The leg is engulfed in energy exactly the same as that emanating from the priest. It is not clear how he is accused, because Zoriak lost his leg when he tried to protect the master. Edwin asks Belza to close his eyes. It's better not to open them until they allow it. Otherwise, the situation will only get worse. Sven is shaking. He laughs nervously when he talks to the Duke. The young man ruined his life and even dares to mock. He threw a handout in the form of his son. They are trying to calm him down. You have lost control of yourself. Go and rest. He doesn't want to leave, declaring that he has never thought more soberly. Then at this moment, Zoriak seemed to have become a different person. It seems that he had long harbored a grudge in his soul against Kalios, because of whom he lost everything in his life. The young man attacks the Duke. He was hiding a knife. Fortunately, the weapon is quickly knocked aside. Of course, the hero had been planning to kill the gentleman for a long time. The brunette puts his hand forward, stopping another blade that was hidden in his bosom. The Duke is calm, promising for now that he is giving her one last chance for forgiveness. Be silent, even if you forgive me. What was lost cannot be returned. Bells closes her eyes, but now it's all over. She's allowed to open her eyes. Sven's energy is no longer felt. It's not clear why the situation turned out this way, why he decided to attack the Duke. They call in their subordinates, who cover the lifeless body with a cloth. The man goes to the children and asks for forgiveness for having to witness such a terrible scene. It seemed unreal. The brunette is glad to hear that the guys are okay. He should go into the house and rest. Eddie hands over a piece of paper that he found in his teacher's room. The note says that a parent cherishes their child more than anyone else. Let the one who deprived Sven of everything know the same pain someone directed the young man, and the boy knew everything in advance the knight was plotting murder. But despite this, he still went to his training. In the house, the beauty helps to treat all the wounds she was told not to use force, if not healed. A scar will remain, so she will have to endure the scars on Eddie's face, will be the loss of the entire nation. Heading to the box with all the most important things, the blonde reminds that the best medicines will be needed for treatment. It's a pity that Gordon has disappeared somewhere. The girl decides to ask a question, wondering if they would have been able to stop Sir Sven if the Duke had not arrived, and managed to sort everything out just in time. It's sad because the beauty remembers that very purple glow. She begins to regret that she didn't have time to use the sacred power. Maybe then the outcome would have been completely different. Everyone understood that sooner or later, Sven would break down. The disappointment that had been building up for many years had not led to anything good. The girl did not understand why the instructor had not been replaced. If the Duke had known about this, he would have helped. The father owed the young man his life. Zoriak was his comrade in arms, and more than anything else, he was proud of his swordsmanship. The proud subordinate had sacrificed himself on the battlefield for his master, and it was clear that Kalios felt guilty, which was why he had let him get away with the rudeness he had allowed himself for so long. Edwin decided that since his father was behaving like this, he should act like an adult too. He decided that he could just endure until it was all over. Anyway, training with him would soon come to an end. It became clear that successes only plunged him deeper into despair. Someone unknown took advantage of his weakness, pushing the sire to betrayal. Belza had nothing to do with it. The little girl hugs the young man. In his past life, he would have been like this too, constantly enduring endless ridicule. Next time, if something happens, he needs to tell her right away. The boy promises that he will definitely do this, despite everything. The beauty is sad. If only he could find a topic to distract her with conversation. This could significantly help her. The gaze moves to the teddy bear, which is located to the side. The toy was obviously a gift from the Duke. This is an excellent start. Once my father showed Mikhail. I wonder if he managed to activate it. Eddie knows this isn't just a toy, and he wonders if Belzy has tried other modes. Kalios hasn't told her about them yet. Judging by her surprise, the bear has guard and warrior options. Eddie's favorite mode is the giant mode, very useful when you need to climb somewhere high. The candidate for sainthood imagines the young man riding a giant, and it becomes funny. The toy used to belong to the Duke. He knows a lot, and when deciding to take a break, the hero explains that classes were canceled due to all the fuss. The heir has other things to do, but not everything is so critical. After all, they are just kids who have suffered a lot of trauma, so they have the right to rest. The girl lies down next to him to sleep, silence falls. Eddie had been a kind person since childhood. That was what she loved most about him. Every person is special. The days passed, each one more varied than the previous one. Several months had passed since the move to the Duke's estate. The girl did not waste time. All this time, she devoted her attention to Joshua, continuing the treatment with the help of sacred power. When there was time, she spent the evenings with Gordon. The heroine began to be considered a full-fledged member of the family. This could not but bring joy. It seemed that life was getting better one day. A noise was heard outside the window. Someone's carriage arrived. Guests were not expected. The little girl didn't understand, so she asked the butler a question. It turns out that the guest had come directly to the lady herself. She was from the Berlot family. Milady was prepared by the maids, all of them. They gasped, noticing that she looked amazing. The outfit was beautiful. She did not understand the point of such clothes. Diana, after all, as it turned out, had come to Joshua. The reason why the girl suddenly, and without warning, decided to visit the Duke's estate was because she learned how the boy was healed. She wants to apologize for not doing it herself. Although the first candidate for sainthood has much greater strength, the child's body is very fragile, so there is always a chance of failure. It is strange that she decided to apologize for something like this. Although in general, nothing less should have been expected from the main character of the novel. Tara straightens the lady's dress. Diana asked for a personal meeting with her childhood friend. For this reason, the heroine was forced to wear such a dress only for this reason. From the moment the maiden left for the Marquis's estate, they never crossed paths. They needed to take advantage of the opportunity to show how much the beauty had changed. In this life, they would definitely become friends. When they approached the door, the heroine felt uneasy. She was nervous. The little girl did not understand how to talk to her, whether to tell her, "Long time no see." Belze understands that he should first apologize for everything that was done in the past. Diana rushes forward. She hugs her old friend, doing it almost immediately. The beauty says that she misses him very much. They haven't seen each other for quite a long time, more than several months. The girl did not sleep almost the whole night. The maid believes that now happiness is overflowing her heart. It is surprising that despite the fact that Belze behaved incorrectly in the shelter and offended Berlot, she in turn hugs her. The beauty feels stupid for not liking such a kind girl. The blonde turns to Lily, asking if they brought a cake with them. The girl asked the maid to buy a delicious cake on the way there, which she could treat herself to. It was the most famous masterpiece in the capital. My lady begged her to buy it and said that the lady had never tried anything like it. Tara feels strange, so she responds with a perfect variation of what she can come up with. The estate employs the best chefs and pastry chefs, so they never buy takeout. A good chance to try something new, especially since the maid has tea recently received from the imperial palace. Belze is uneasy. Diana did not mean anything bad. She noticed that they were not fed any goodies at the shelter. The nanny promises to bring tea. The girls are left alone. She feels awkward. After all, she had never spoken to Diana before, except for insults. Pulling herself together, the little girl decides that the first thing she should do is apologize for the past. This is the first step to an improved relationship. "Listen, I've been wanting to tell you something for a long time. I wish they could be friends." Berlot doesn't let me finish the sentence. She was worried about Belze. It's a strange feeling. It seems like the lady interrupted on purpose. The blonde asks what the point of the excitement is. Apparently, it was all because she had to live in the Duke's estate. As is known, the lady was being held because Diana was unable to cure Mr. Joshua. She did not have enough strength. That's what Berlot said. In order to make the first candidate for sainthood feel guilty, they took the second one from the orphanage and pretended to have managed to heal the youth. It's hard to believe, it seems, until the very end, that the beauty was somehow misunderstood. She speaks this way intentionally to provoke Belze's emotions. It's not clear why ask if it's true. The heroine answers as she thinks she is not nearly as good as her rival. However, she still has abilities. She was chosen for a reason. Diana wonders if this is all true. Then she shouldn't have run away from the festival in honor of the goddess. Rather, it happened because of uncertainty in the gift. Sadly, Belze ran away because she was tired of the constant comparison. It's impossible to say something like that to someone's face. Trying to get out of the situation, the beauty declares that the festival was boring, that she really did heal Mr. Joshua. But the cure isn't instant, so she lives in the estate to monitor his condition. The girl rushes to her friend, believing that she can be frank. The Duke found the little girl in the obedience room, took pity on her, and brought her to his place. Pity often interferes with sound thinking. That priest was obsessed with his reputation, so he forced each of the children who entered the obedience room to take an oath of silence about what had happened. They had no right to spoil the situation in the orphanage. All the other pupils of the orphanage, and especially Diana, the most obedient one, were not supposed to know anything about this place. I wonder how the lady managed to find out the truth. It turns out that a knight from the imperial palace once came to the marquis. He asked many questions. Everyone was shocked when the priest's deeds were revealed. At the same time, the little girl was told about the room that was locked. The heroine remembers a conversation with the Duke. He said that although the Bureau of Investigation had begun an investigation, they had decided to keep certain actions secret so as not to tarnish the church's reputation. Diana smiles terribly. Be that as it may, Bells is under the protection of Kalios himself. I am incredibly happy for you. The blonde offers a cake. She pretends not to understand. Why the beauty is sad, the girl does not recognize Berlot. Even so, she decides to agree to eat some sweets. It's probably all because of the reincarnation. She was always like this. It's just that in the past, as a baby, the heroine didn't notice any strangeness. The yellow color catches my eye. This is a sign of an allergy that my friend is experiencing. The light is very dim. There is no threat to life, although perhaps the allergen should be removed from the table just in case. The little girl doesn't understand anything. In her past life, Diana simply loved to eat all the desserts on the table. The heroine takes out a cake. In fact, she doesn't often eat delicious things. The marquise forbids it, justifying this by saying that they are harmful. The girl takes a bite of the pie. The fire becomes much stronger. The beauty screams for her to stop, but she doesn't listen before taking another bite. She smiles imperceptibly. The fire instantly spread. The body loses consciousness. The beauty falls to the floor, and she must immediately spit out what she managed to eat. As Belza opens the lady's mouth, he realizes that her airways are starting to swell. And as she struggles, the piece becomes impossible to remove, going deeper into her throat, causing a worse allergic reaction. At the most unfortunate moment, a maid comes into the room. She asks what is going on. Instead of listening, Lily throws the girl aside, blaming her for what was done. Belzy groans as she hits her hand on the floor. It hurts so much that she wants to cry, but the tears are ready to flow more because of the resentment that is accumulating inside. Footsteps are heard looking up, the blonde freezes. Edwin and Tara are in the room. Lily screams louder, while Diana wheezes about the weakness of her body. Her throat swells progressively. I remember my past life. I can't believe that the beauty was poisoned, just like that day. Then Belzy was fooled and then accused of poisoning. Then she was arrested. The lump in her throat doesn't allow her to say more than necessary. The only thing the little girl can say is that it's not her fault. Edwin hugs her, nodding. He assures her that he knows you really are not to blame. Lily is screaming. She is furious because Diana has all the signs of poisoning. This could not have happened by accident. Call a doctor immediately. The young man's eyes flashed as he ordered everyone to watch their language. They shouldn't have spoken such words to a member of the Kalios family. They would have to answer for what they said. The hero turns to Tara, who was setting out the plates. She checked all the food with the utmost rigor. There was no hint of poison anywhere. The maid is ready to swear. Just like in the past, the Duke defends Belza. He steps forward, repeating again that the girl cannot be blamed. It is nice that he cares. However, one cannot always rely on the help of others. The beauty wipes away her tears and steps forward in a confident but brittle voice. She says that it is an allergy. Sacred energy is manifesting in her hands. Lily doesn't understand what the maiden is going to do. Perhaps she will only make the situation worse. If nothing is done, Diana will die because the swelling will spread. The first candidate for sainthood was sent to bed, and standing next to her, the girl begins the process. Allergies are an autoimmune disease that cannot be completely cured, but with force, it can be made a little better. They explain to the maid that first aid has been provided, and just in case it wouldn't hurt to get some allergy medicine from the pharmacy. Milady calls out to her sister in a weak voice, who immediately hurries closer. Edwin approaches the beauty and asks if everything is okay with her. She just needs to rest a little. Diana says that her hands are really itchy. A disgruntled maid asks for help to get rid of her mistress's rash. It itches a lot. Belle's completely exhausted, promises that she will do everything in a few minutes. It is not such a difficult task. Edwin steps forward and stops the beauty. They are too demanding. Because the candidate was only healing at full strength, it is better to wait until the Duke arrives. Soon the Marquis runs into the room, looking incredibly worried, and rushes to his adopted daughter. As soon as he heard that the girl had stopped breathing, he immediately dropped everything he was doing and rushed over as fast as he could. It was good that Diana was okay. Her condition had noticeably improved. The heroine doesn't like Berlot. They had already met in a past life. But then he was with the prince, so this is considered a second meeting. The evidence that was shown to the beauty then stated that he and the second prince were planning to start a rebellion, but then everything was turned around so that the crown prince and the duke's family were declared to be the conspirators. There is a possibility that Berlot was involved in the betrayal. If he is so ambitious, then Diana's intervention is obviously connected to her ability to get drunk. In a past life, the man was simply obsessed with making a saint out of his daughter. The Duke enters the room. The Marquis asks the little girl if her ability is okay, and he is not worried about her condition at all. Gordon follows Callios. It's a different matter. This is the gentleman's way of expressing his concern for his daughter. The doctor asks the lady how she feels. Belza saved her friend. Having skillfully provided first aid, the beauty ensured peace of mind. Nothing was left in danger of life. Thanks to the second candidate for sainthood, the swelling in the respiratory tract had subsided, leaving only a small rash. The medication will quickly restore normal skin. The Marquis snorts. There is a second candidate for sainthood in the room, which means no pills or ointments should be used in the treatment. As far as Berlot knows, she is to blame for this incident. There is no way she can escape responsibility. She is obliged to cure the rash. The Duke asks menacingly, "Why do you think so?" The hero notes that Diana's allergy only started after drinking tea. Callios disagrees, saying there's nothing wrong with giving a long-awaited guest something to drink, even if she arrived uninvited. Of course, Berlot is in a panic, because the child under his care almost died. For now, the master will turn a blind eye to this accusation, but for the future, it is recommended to change the maid she did not know about the allergy and fed him whatever she wanted. Trying not to shout, the Marquis clarifies whether he misheard or whether they are really trying to blame Lily. He is sure that no one knew that there were apricots in the sweets that were served on the table. Gordon intervenes. The estate never uses this fruit. Joshua is allergic to them. In other words, if in doubt, you should go to the kitchen. The girl comes forward. She understood what they were talking about. The whole problem was in the pie from the cafe. Diana brought it with her because she wanted to share it with Belze. It seems that the whole problem lay in it. The man yells at Lily. He won't protect her because he warned her earlier that there was jam in the cake. Berlot covers her face with her hands and starts crying. It's all my fault. Even in the orphanage, Bells loved all kinds of sweets. She was always upset when she didn't get any pleasure. The little girl always gave her her portion so that she wouldn't take portions from other children. The heroine is horrified. They are slandering her. The Marquis looks at the girl with displeasure. She behaved terribly, even at the temple. His adopted daughter, from the bottom of her heart, wanted to share something sweet with her, but it all ended in disaster. It's obvious that Bells ate the whole pie and gave the rest to Diana, Lily confirms, because when she came in, they tried to shove a piece into her mouth. Nonsense again. I tried to make her spit out the deliciousness. Stepping forward, Edwin stands up to defend himself. He also saw that his sister was trying to help. The lady almost got hurt in the process when she climbed forward. Trying to object, the Marquise was stopped. The gentleman forgave the rudeness because Diana was a friend, but this time they went too far with their accusations. No one will question why Berlot Jr. lied. At a young age, children often lie when they feel threatened, but in the future, they should not set foot in the Callios estate. The Duke is not going to be kind. He hopes that they understand each other. Such issues should initially be resolved between adults. The time has come to leave the estate. There is nothing left to do but agree. Lily is asked to take the girl, but she asks to stop before they go away. She would like to talk to Belze. The beauty accidentally hit her friend when she was trying to provide first aid, which means she should make amends and heal the abrasion. The heroine doesn't understand what the right thing to do is. She really wants to go on vacation, but for the sake of Diana and the relationship between the families, she needs to do everything possible to hush up the conflict. The girl asks for forgiveness. She really didn't want the situation to end like this at the same time she is healing Belzo. It feels strange. I have never been treated with divine power. It feels like there are bugs under the skin. The beauty tries to push the hand away. The blonde notices that she has become much smarter. Probably because it was she who ended up in the Duke's house, and not the first candidate. A purple glow emanates from her aura. The heroine asks if they are trying to take away what belongs to her again. The voice is ominous. There is bewilderment in Belza's eyes. She quietly asks what they are talking about. The Marquis turns to Berlotte. Since she has finished it is time to go back to the estate. There will be no more opportunity to talk. Introduce herself. The maidens whisper in her ear that the second candidate has already become weaker, which means that very soon they will show her who is truly worthy of becoming a saint. It will be Diana. Again, the lady asks to give her a minute. She runs up to her friend, bowing her head, trying to be sincere, asking for forgiveness for everything she said earlier while she was nearby. In fact, it was sad that she couldn't personally cure the Duke's youngest son. Berlotte was worried that the Marquise had lied to her in order to try to calm her down. Seeing his strength with her own eyes, the little girl felt a little envious. Of course, such an act was regarded as something terrible. She felt sorry and wanted to earn forgiveness. The realization comes to mind, it's so obvious Belzy has returned to the past, but Diana is still a child. It's still very difficult for her. Previously, only the second candidate was constantly compared to the first. But now, for the first time, a situation has arisen where everything is the other way around, and the little girl knows how unpleasant this is. Carefully taking the girl's hands in hers, the blonde nods in agreement. In the future, they will be able to be friends despite the fact that they are rivals of sorts. They will meet again at the festival in honor of the goddess. Time passed after Diana's departure. The Marquis' family admitted their mistakes and sent a letter of apology this time, making it official. It is unclear why, perhaps because of the amount of divine power used, or because of the excitement before the meeting. After what happened, the baby lay in bed for 2 whole days. After a few days, she managed to come to her senses. Her condition seemed to have improved. The heroine felt the strangeness of the situation. The incident was resolved safely. However, she was not freed from doubt. It could all be connected to the color of the aura that emanated from Diana. When she tried to heal the abrasion, it was very similar to the one that emanated from the priest. It cannot be that the purple fire signifies evil, because Berlotte is destined to become not only a saint, but also the main character of the novel. She remembers perfectly well what she was like. In the past, the beauty sincerely wanted to become one of the best saints. She wanted to cure all the sick in the world, giving everyone due attention. The heroine feels lousy. There was no point in doubting, just because the child behaved a little differently than in her past life. The only suspicious person is the Marquise. Before this, it was difficult to understand how much the man was obsessed with Diana's divine power. It was he who pushed her to compete with Belza, believing that she should win. The hero has long been planning to deal with the Duke's family, so it is unclear how he will act now that the second candidate for sainthood has begun to behave differently. If there is anything suspicious about him, everything will be immediately reported to Kallios. The next time they meet is at the festival, celebrating the goddess's birthday. Time flies. The moment is approaching when Diana's divine gift will blossom, as will her path to becoming a saint. Unfortunately, members of the imperial family will be present at the celebration, so there will be no escape, and you will have to endure all the comparisons. It's all for the best, because it's good that the beauty doesn't care about anything anymore. She doesn't care about the opinions of others. She won't strive to surpass Diana and become a saint. It is better not to try to take Edwin away from the girl. Let them be happy instead of envy. She will remain a child adopted by the Duke and will definitely repay the kindness in full. Gordon goes to Belza. He was looking for her everywhere, not just like that because there is a good reason for this. The old man declares that he finally succeeded. After so much time, she managed to grow the first shoots of fairy grass. The little girl's eyes light up. She will have a lot of money because the business is incredibly profitable. Later, when they went to check, the blonde was faced with the harsh reality that they had planted very little, not even half of what had been originally collected. Gordon screams. He feels amazed because in front of them is a legendary unknown plant. A historical miracle has occurred, and it is worth it. The sprouts will only fully emerge in 3 months. The waiting process is too long. The man asks how she knows this. The excuse is crooked. I read it in one of the books. He had heard that the Duke's library contained very rare books, including even forbidden tracts. He wondered what the girl would do with the herbs, since she had asked to be informed when the experiment was successful. Initially, the beauty wanted to make scented candles out of them, but there are too few plants so far, so nothing will come of it. There will be 2 or 3 candles there, but for sales to increase, more sprouts are needed. From a small amount of sprouts, you will get no more than 2 bottles of virgin oil. It's time to change the plan. A new venture is sure to attract a lot of attention. The advertisements that will be shown are best placed somewhere in a good location. A festival in honor of the goddess would be ideal. The celebration is held in a temple, which means Diana and the Marquis will be present there. It is there that it will be decided who will be the saint. Gordon is inspired by the idea and declares that Belza will be the next saint. The doctor is angry because he remembers how everything was in the past, when these freaks showed up at their estate. They ruined the situation with their disdain. The opportunity will be used. The Marquis will get what he deserves. The little girl tries to say something against it, but in fact she doesn't really want to compete. Gordon doesn't calm down. As a loyal business partner, he will do everything to move Belza forward. After the old man announced that he would make the girl the next saint during the goddess festival celebrations, a long process began. Research into the use of the herb Elphinus has expanded, and during the research, the experience and knowledge gained in her past life before her reincarnation came in handy. The woman was the head of a small cosmetics startup. After her death, she came to a novella she had read many times. It was difficult to combine the latest technology and working with grass, but by working lazily and at night, she eventually managed to develop the final product. Tara was one of the first people allowed to test the cosmetics. Everyone in the neighborhood is asking her about her skin secret. The product can be released for sale, and there will be no problems with demand. There are only a few last details left, but the butler doesn't want to let the beauty go into town alone. If she waits for the Duke, he will go with her. The girl assures him that she will do all her business quickly. It won't take much time. I want to show my father what I have achieved, so it would be better to give him a carriage, and if anything happens, Tara will be there to help with everything. The beauty holds a toy in her hands. It is ideal because it can protect its owner better than any knight. When she orders the protector mode to be activated, the maiden waits for a reaction. Mishka jumps forward. He destroys one of the things, because his task is nothing other than to destroy any obstacles in Belza's path. The capital's trade guild is important. To sell goods there, you first need to register all the licenses and certificates, just like in Korea, since the entire street is overflowing with buildings and offices. Usually, there's not even room to swing a cat. They and Tara came to the right address. It's strange that there are so many doors there. Maybe they are holding some important event. The maid says that while there is still time, she will go get a ticket. A boy is seen in a room without adults. He has a hood on his head, crossing their gaze. Miss wants to come up, but then it's her turn to come up to the bureau. The little girl decides that the child is waiting for its parents. The lady hands over a document at the table. She wants to register a trademark and patent in order to start selling. The documents will be ready within a day. The girl needs to fill out a form. And since she is a minor, the guarantor's name must be written at the bottom. The Duke cannot be written, so the doctor's name must be used. Registration will take some time, so while you wait, it's best to take advantage of the event. The competition was organized by the imperial family. Prizes are given for product development or for the skills of a future businessman. The girl doesn't care about the competition, but considering the 500 gold that can be won, she is fired up by the idea. The beauty will be added to the list of participants. She just needed capital for her business. Everything is going well. She does not believe that she will receive help from the empire itself. You can feel the intense gaze of a child sitting alone in a robe, waiting in line for a competition or his patent. It's a little awkward to compete with a toddler, but you can't let the money go to waste. Another child accidentally removes the hood only halfway, but it is enough to notice the scarlet hair Mrs. distracted to pick up her documents. Turning back, she realizes that the young man has disappeared somewhere, and if so, she needs to return back to the estate. In Aria, only those with royal blood have red hair and green eyes. The purer the blood, the stronger the signs. The second prince always had a complex about his slightly reddish hair and dull eyes. The boy has bright hair and green eyes, and only one person fits the description. The girl encountered the prince of the empire. His name is Caesar Estalord. The heroine had never met other people with such an appearance. Questions are swirling in her head. If this is really the emperor's son, what does he need at the bureau? In the past, the lady had not read about his participation in any competitions. Only one thing comes to mind. On the eve of the festival, a young man having gone on a secret mission was attacked by a mercenary sent by the empress. Being wounded, he could not wake up for a long time. After all, the emperor sent a messenger to the Berlot family to ask for help. The beauty rushes from the spot. She asks Tara to wait. I forgot something. I'll take it and come back. Even if the guy is attacked, according to the novella, Diana will heal his wounds. The crown prince, who was accused of treason and imprisoned, was attacked at the very end of the novel and fell into a deep coma. The lady always thought that if she had been smarter, the tragedy could have been avoided. In her new life, she decided that she would fully repay those who suffered because of her fault. The beauty needs to warn the guards and go back, however, in the alley itself. She sees blood, and Estalord's scarf and brooch are lying nearby. Caesar was attacked because the boy went to watch the competition and accidentally ended up in danger. No one knows the real reason why the prince went there. The young man is looking for an ally. Every member of the imperial family is under the influence of the empress. The prince can be betrayed at any moment. At the competition, he was going to find a person with outstanding intellect. The hero wanted to create a financial cushion, planning that such cooperation would be mutually beneficial. But he does not understand how the mercenaries found out about everything. The guy rushes forward. He can't delay any longer, otherwise it will be over with him. He wounds one person after another. He needs to get out of the slums and into the streets. The leader arrived from the side. Just in time, he hits Caesar. It hurts. Obviously, the end will come very soon. He will not be able to get out alive. Belza orders Mikhailo to activate warrior mode. The bear cub jumps out from around the corner. A moment later, one of the mercenaries falls to the ground. A strong blow is to blame. The toy comes forward. If there are those left who want to play, he will do so with pleasure. The prince steps back. He does not understand what is happening. Belzy smiles because she didn't think that the baby would be so strong. The girl extends her hand, asking if the boy is okay, but there is no answer. Perhaps he hasn't recovered from the shock yet. In fact, the girl also doesn't quite understand how the toy can be so powerful. After all, she didn't even intend to use this mode. The prince pushes the lady away. His character is steely as expected from such a person. He gets to his feet. Everything will be fine. No help will be needed. In any case, Belzy shouldn't be the one treating the young man. Security is probably already on its way, and the little girl should leave to avoid getting entangled in the imperial family's affairs. Mikhailo is called Closer. All the opponents are defeated. He quickly dealt with them. It was time to leave. The lady wanted to say goodbye. But then Caesar falls to the ground. Blood flows from under the robe. The bleeding is stopped with force. But the damage is serious. The girl does not remember how badly he was wounded in the novel. The crown prince is one of the main characters. It is unlikely that he will die so easily, considering how the plot can deviate, but there is still no certainty. The little girl doesn't know how to take the boy to safety until his knights arrive. Edwin's words come to mind. The bear has a giant mode as once convenient. You can't leave the guy completely alone, especially since one of the mercenaries is starting to come to his senses. It's time to use force. The toy is ordered to use giant mode when it grows. The heroine claps her hands joyfully. The important person must be carefully carried to the back door of the trade guild. If you leave the boy where there are a lot of passers-by, he will be quickly found and helped. But first, the wound needs to be healed at least a little. The rest of the treatment will be Diana's responsibility. Miss finally returns back to Tara, who squats down and worriedly asks where the girl disappeared to. It turns out the heroine wanted to find the owner of a brooch she accidentally found on the street, but nothing came of it, so she returned. The maid nods. In the future, they will agree that if something like this happens, it is better to tell her right away, so that the girl does not wander around there alone. Before heading to the carriage, Belza looks back one last time. She sincerely hopes that everything will be all right with the crown prince. After returning to the estate, the little girl was scolded by the whole family. She promised that such a thing would never happen again. Only then was she finally able to go about her business. A few days after the incident, the festival began. The day of service in the temple arrived strangely. Nothing was mentioned in the newspapers about the prince's condition. Miss has already decided which dress she will wear. Although for the others, it is considered a loss that they have to give up everything else, since they have prepared a lot of different clothes. A simple outfit and a bracelet given by the Duke will be enough. After the incident, the man specifically gave her a small thing that would prevent her from getting lost. Bells understood his concerns, but still thought that this was going too far. After all, it was made of rubies and platinum, quite expensive, and Miss would meet her friends from the shelter. She didn't need to stand out too much. In the past, the heroine was very envious of Diana, who constantly showed off her beautiful outfits, showing off her belonging to the Marquis's family. So at the first opportunity, the lady began to do the same. The fancy dresses weren't always appropriate for the occasion, as it wasn't surprising to be constantly stared at and reproached. The little girl didn't understand that yet, and was very upset. One day, she was told how strange it was that the holy power which was decreasing from year to year was constantly dressing as if she were a princess. Memories do not fail. Then the little girl met someone who explained everything quite clearly. The face can no longer be remembered, but the manner of speech will not be forgotten. Even after the woman stopped imitating Diana, she was still accused of copying. The only interesting thing is how the stranger knew about the decrease in the volume of power. Then the gift of healing really did fade with each passing day, and it got to the point where it was difficult to heal a simple scratch on the hand. The reason for the battle was unknown in the past, but after being locked in the obedience room, the heroine realized that the problem was that she had lost her source, namely spiritual energy. Milady wonders how a stranger was the first to notice this fact, although Belza herself did not pay attention to it. The butler distracts her from her thoughts. The Duke wants to have breakfast with his sons and daughter. All family members are usually busy, and we only get together for dinner. The little girl is happy that she finally has the opportunity to have breakfast together. The heroine hurries to the dining room. She is a little late, it's not a big deal, because they were all gathered at the very last moment. It's time to start eating. Edwin has been acting like an adult since an early age. He helps his little brother. In my past life, I was able to gather around the table. Just as rarely, there was only one difference. The atmosphere, it was oppressive. It did not allow me to relax. Apparently, everything has changed so much, because Joshua is sitting next to me, happy and healthy, and seeing the changes, it is immediately obvious that the actions have brought benefits. The Duke says that Belza has excellent manners. Perhaps it was at the orphanage that they were taught etiquette. This is quite useful knowledge. In fact, it was Callios himself who taught the little girl etiquette. In the orphanage, there were only spoons and a plate, and no one had any idea that different dishes existed. At the first dinner at the estate, the little girl did not pass any tests correctly. Despite this, the young man explained how to do it correctly. He did not even scold her. When the girl remembers how the gentleman taught her etiquette, she is overcome with a wave of gratitude. The father turns to Joshua. You wouldn't hurt to learn table etiquette too. It was difficult to understand then how much care was hidden in the words of the head of the house. It was clear how much he loved his children because he wanted the best for them. The little girl knows what it's like to be compared to someone else. She doesn't want the boy to be compared to her, so she drops the knife on the floor. The brunette assures that it's okay. They're both still young. There will be time to learn. The girl decides to ask what the reason is for all of them to gather. Obviously, the whole family knows, except her. It turns out they had gathered for breakfast to support Belze, who had a rather important day ahead of her, for which she had undergone lengthy preparations. The child who receives the most talons will be chosen as a saint. The temple's talons are a currency just like gold coins, and on the day of the gift's presentation, families exchange them for the currency of their country. They buy items made by the exchange students or pay for the use of abilities. The idea is simple. Whoever gets the most money becomes a saint. Despite the good prospects, the beauty has absolutely no desire to occupy a high position. She is very grateful for the care, but it seems to her that this is too much. Gordon thinks otherwise. He promised to keep it a secret, but told the Duke that the girl worked for the title. The maiden recalls that she had to use the family property for her goal. Belza sincerely promises that she will definitely reimburse all costs. The main thing is that she is allowed to continue working on the project. This is a good chance to obtain permission and grow more ingredients. The Duke doesn't understand what is being discussed, but in essence, it is clear that his daughter is planning to make a profit, and he will eagerly await the results. Edwin wonders why the girl doesn't want to rely on the power of healing. It would be easier to get the talons. He doesn't know that the festival is needed to promote business. No matter how great the gift, the lady will still not be equal to Diana. There is no point in competing with her just to lose vital energy. The little girl claims that she is not that strong in her abilities. No one told her anything. However, the uncertainty does not go away. Joshua intervenes. His sister heals better than anyone. He can understand this, because she healed him doing it with the help of her divine energy. That's right. No matter what happens, Edwin will also not be on Belza's side. She deserves to win the competition and become a saint. The best solution is to treat the competition as a game, although even so, the title will still belong to Callios Jr. Since the title can be bought with Logan's help, the father exchanged a substantial sum, so everything will be fine. The little girl can't help but be surprised. No more than 100 talons are allocated per family. Who knows, maybe the gentleman managed to bribe all the other families to help Belza win. The Duke, like Edwin, all cleared their calendars to attend, as in the past life. And the novella, it was stated that they were always busy. Joshua would have liked to go too, but Gordon said his immune system was too weak, so he had to agree and stay home. All the festival participants have to set up their own stalls, so the first thing the girl does is go to the temple. She hasn't been there for a long time. Nothing much has changed. She hated the shelter with all her soul. But this place no longer evokes any emotions in her. Gordon helps carry boxes from the luggage, although this is considered direct exploitation. It would be easier to give the task to a bear, but he would scare everyone. The old man is unhappy with everything, especially the fact that he was appointed a salesman. He can barely stand on his feet anyway, and now he will have to hang around behind the counter all day. After breakfast, the Duke actually offered his help, but I had to refuse. The little girl said that the doctor could handle everything. I wonder if the girl is going to visit her friends and teachers. It turns out she has almost no acquaintances and no one to visit. The beauty doesn't think anyone remembers her. She was so ordinary that no one ever saw her, so there's no point in talking about it. Lauren, the shelter's head of welfare, appeared out of nowhere, offering to remind them of the old days, a sinister smile on her face. No one ever paid attention to the lady, but she was adopted by a duke, so it's not surprising that the woman is interested in how the child is treated in the new family. When the abilities first manifested in the past, Lauren was the first to notice the girl. Being a child deprived of warmth and care, the attention was perceived in a multifaceted way. The heroine chose the words that she would definitely become the best saint as her life's goal. She was ready to do anything just to gain favor. The good relationship didn't last long. The baby was forgotten as soon as Diana arrived at the shelter. It was then that the headmistress began comparing the two candidates. When Berlo received support from the Marquis, Lorraine, in turn, began to humiliate the girl even more than usual. It was the woman who gave birth to the inferiority complex. And since then, Belz has become completely out of control and an uncontrollable child. Gordon asks if he can listen to stories from the shelter. The little girl screams that there is no need for that. They need to quickly put out the food. Lauren smirked right in my face. She had something in mind. The girl was not going to forgive the terrible treatment. It would be unpleasant. The sisters approach as if they had timed it perfectly. The girl had caused a lot of trouble at the orphanage, and judging by her appearance, she hadn't behaved any better, so they even sent a servant with her. The Duke took pity on his personal maid and didn't send her to the event. A man shouldn't get attached to a lady, she'll be returned soon anyway. The doctor is shouting, "What's wrong?" Lauren grins wryly, noting that this won't happen, as the girl received support when she treated Joshua, even though she simply finished the job that Diana had already completed. We shouldn't forget about the doctor. He worked tirelessly, and Belzy took away his glory. The sisters don't watch their language at all. Stepping forward, Gordon declares that, although the girl can hardly be called a well-behaved child, her gift is incredible. Pellis is ready to guarantee this as the family's personal doctor. The hero hands over his business card to prove his identity, and the women immediately gasp. This name is well known in the highest academic circles. The little girl single-handedly cured the gentleman the whole family cherishes. Her Gordon himself barely managed to get a place to help at the event. There was no point in praising the beauty so much, but since the opportunity presented itself, Belze showed a bracelet that would help her not to get lost. The Duke promised to visit the counter. Lauren apologizes as soon as she found out that the gentleman was coming. She immediately changed her shoes. There is no need for apologies, but there is no point in making a scene. The heroine forgives, and they run away. Gordon is surprised that the little girl decided to behave normally, all because someone stood up for her. On top of all this, the head has clearly been suffering from diarrhea for the past few days. She doesn't need any other punishment. Pellas finds it strange that despite the terrible treatment, the girl was given a good seat. The problem is that the counter is opposite Diana's. At the shelter, they often did this to make Berlot look even better against the background of Belza, to make her stand out compared to someone who had no friends and talent. The strange thing is that this time, the girl is dressed too pretentiously compared to what she wore in the past. The outfit is too outstanding. The dress is very similar to what Belz was wearing during their last meeting. As she comes closer, the girl asks if it suits her or not. She smiles wickedly, claiming she just wanted to practice dressing casually like her friend does. The girl feels uncomfortable. She can't speak out. She feels something bad, just like it was last time. Even though Diana dressed this way at the request of the Marquise, who bought her a bunch of new outfits, she still has the feeling that the roles have changed in her new life. The beauty greets Gordon. He has arrived to be an assistant. Presumably she and Belz are quite close. Diana deliberately raises her voice when she talks about how lucky her rival is. The new maid is unhappy. Are you going to treat people instead of her? The woman is talking nonsense. The Duchess herself personally prepared everything for sale. There is no point in lying about the purpose of her presence at the event. Berlot pulls Belzy towards her, reminding her that she can't let outsiders perform the treatment. Breaking the rules risks being expelled. The children around her began to whisper, no matter how innocent Diana was. The mention of such things immediately made the others doubt her honesty. Virgo wouldn't have paid any attention if they were only discussing her. She had long been used to it. But since Gordon was touched, the reputation of the whole family was at risk. This could not be allowed. Smiling, the beauty assures that she is aware of the rules and will not pass off other people's abilities or medicines as her own, thereby earning money. Diana is nervous. Her friend knows that no one wishes her harm because they are on good terms. Initially, she wanted to advertise the product, but now she does not want to lose. Since Belzy is also a candidate for sainthood, she will earn all the money with the gift. If something is wrong, you can contact the judges. Let's compete fairly. Her hand reaches forward to shake Berlot's hand. The beauty wishes for everything to be, well, she does not want there to be any misunderstandings. After this, the girls went their separate ways, and it was time for the final touches of preparation, which meant that special attention needed to be paid to this. Gordon asks if everything is okay. The heroine nods. Everything is going as planned. There is no need to worry about what will happen next. The man is in despair because not a single customer has approached them for half an hour of the festival, and the people in the line opposite do nothing but stare. It seems as if all the cripples of the world have gathered in the temple, many people who truly came only for the sake of treatment from Diana. The price is set at 10 talans per treatment session. Usually, treatment in a temple costs much more, so no one wants to miss out on the opportunity to receive it for a pittance. The Marquise is no slouch, either arriving before everyone else to attract clients to his daughter, and he has no idea about the ethics of fair trade. Gordon is getting more and more nervous. At this rate, they won't be able to sell even one unit of goods. It will be a complete collapse, especially in front of the Duke. The doctor believes that the gentleman will definitely buy the goods. However, the more noble the family, the later they arrive, which means that Kalios will be almost the last to arrive. There is still plenty of time because no one else has such a product. What they sell has become the crown of creation. These are products that they have been toiling over day and night. Lady Cloud has arrived. The stall's goal is to strike high society in the heart. The woman is the elder sister of the late emperor and the aunt of the current ruler. The marquise pushes forward. Of course his behavior can be understood, but even for him it's too much. Diana hurries to Madame, however her gift will not help. The woman is surrounded by a bright white glow. Her lifespan is shortened due to age. No matter what, gods have blessed the gift. It is impossible to bring a person back to life. They'll just make all the nobles stand in line even longer while they pay attention to Cloud. The heroine asks Diana for help. She also turned to her last time, noticing her rival's gaze. The girl smiles nastily, asking how things are. Everything becomes clear. The feeling of strange tension that was felt. The maiden could cause damage to the entire family of the Duke. In her past life, Belza couldn't even imagine this. Diana is doing this on purpose. She's afraid of her rival. It is not clear whether she has changed so much because of the changes of the second candidate, or whether she has always been like this. For the sake of the happiness of the family, she must win and become a saint, even if only for a short time. All her life, the maiden hated the eternal comparisons, but in the end, she's even a little grateful. The little girl reaches for the megaphone. It's soon time for the presentation. Thanks to Berlot's popularity, there was no need to put in any effort. The rules did not specify that the use of magical items was prohibited. It's hot outside, and the aristocrats who are not known for their good health are ready to fall off their feet in this long line. The girl stands at the counter, and the first 10 visitors will be able to try the energy-restoring elixir, absolutely free. Besides the bottles made from fairy grass, the best medicine for Gordon was prepared. Something else was needed since there were few sprouts. Thanks to the excellent recipe, even though it is made from fairly simple herbs, the elixir is concentrated, refreshing, and pleasant to the taste. It relieves the symptoms of mild colds and malaise, and the Duke's personal physician guarantees its effectiveness. Gordon's name is known to everyone in high society. It's free, and someone already wants to try it. The Marquis shouts, trying to stop. They're all lying. One of the aristocrats comes up to get a bottle. There are only 500 bottles, and even selling half of them will ensure Belza's victory. If a customer complains of illness and hopes that the elixir will help, the lady discreetly uses her power. One of the first visitors realizes that his runny nose has passed and immediately asks to sell 10 more bottles. Soon a whole crowd has gathered near the stand. Gordon quietly asks if it's normal that an ordinary elixir for strength is sold as something special. The little girl doesn't think anyone will take the slogan seriously. Some people buy the product out of necessity. Some are bored of standing in line. Some are attracted by the price of 1 talon. The more sales, the more people are interested. All that remains is to wait until the real product made from fairy grass is put into use. The Marquis is seething at this time. They are trying to take away their clients, and he doesn't like it. He is against what is happening since the candidate is also a saint, which means she is obliged to use her power, but instead she sells sweet water. Of course he made a scandal. He can't wait to prove to everyone that Belz is much worse than Diana. However, it doesn't matter, because he managed to attract everyone's attention. Even Madame is distracted because she doesn't understand what kind of remedy it is, since Berlot himself started shouting. A medicine can't cure anything for 1 talon. The girl smiles. The man can continue to chatter because it only plays into their hands. With the help of wild screams, the attention of an even larger part of the crowd is attracted to the stand. Everyone who is curious about the reason for the dispute is sure to buy something. The list of things the elixir won't help with is a bit further down. For chronic illnesses, wounds, and aging, the effect may be minimal. The Marquis snorts. He was right, the medicine isn't all that powerful. Other children use the same tricks, but only blame Belzeu. Berlot intends to tell everyone about the lie. Then the Duke's voice is heard. If the man does not buy anything, then he had better step aside, make way for the others. The girl hurries to his lordship. He is sorry that he could not arrive earlier. Edwin has also arrived. He is immediately noticeable. Attention turns again to the Marquis. He is busy with idle activities, as if he has nothing else to do. He stutters. It's not true, I have things to do. He became interested because Belza, being a candidate, was selling things that were completely unrelated to the gift. It was funny how cleverly she managed to come up with excuses. Curiosity was satisfied, and from now on, it would be better to keep an eye on Diana. Gordon was pleased that he had managed to drive away the uninvited guest. He had managed to arrange a showdown since the very morning. Edwin asks if anything serious happened while they were gone, so as not to make him worry, but the beauty shakes her head. Lately, the girl has been working hard on the elixir. The doctor helped her a lot, although she believes that it was Belzy who developed the idea. It's amazing how such bright and brilliant thoughts are born in a small head. The Duke will gladly buy what is so highly praised. A man wants to buy 100 pieces at once. A bag of talons falls on the table. It is impossible not to be happy that he managed to get such a large sum. It's a pity that exchanging more was strictly prohibited, although it's just pennies. Belzy is not sure if this is right. Buying 100 elixirs, the hero will not be able to buy anything else. In his opinion, there is nothing interesting except his daughter's counter. Edwin managed to look around and also agreed that he did not find anything worthwhile. A voice is heard. Madame approaches the Duke, whom they have not seen for quite some time. A smile on her face, they are both happy about the unexpected meeting. The Marquis runs after her and promises that he can help, but the woman sharply pushes his hand away, reminding him that she is still able to stand on her feet. As soon as she managed to get rid of him, he appeared again, only getting in the way. The lady didn't feel any difference from Diana's treatment. Cloud's problem is caused by fatigue due to age. Magical treatment will not help. She knows this herself. The woman knows that the Duke's youngest son is seriously ill. I did not expect to see you here. If Joshua were in poor health, the young man would never have left home. But thanks to Basie, his condition will remain consistently good. Previously, Madame was a regular client of Diana, but for the first time, she manages to see her in person. The lady's influence is quite strong. The girl doesn't provide any services. Instead, she sells an elixir of her own making. Since the first bottle is free, it's better to try it. Madame doesn't have the strength to open the jar. Edwin wants to help her. He has grown up and become more attentive to those who need help. The girl still has a secret weapon up her sleeve. She certainly couldn't find a better first client than the mistress. The taste was pleasant, and the elixir was to her liking. The Duke offers to buy a few bottles. It's time for the best creation. The chance can't be missed when it presents itself so unexpectedly. The little girl puts a new batch on the table. There are only 10 bottles. No one except Gordon has seen this creation yet. The medicine was specially saved for a better occasion, and now, finally, it can be offered to Madame. She is sure to like it. A hairspray with fairy grass extract is the best solution, as the scent is captivating, and its properties are revealed without direct contact with the skin. The girls in the crowd begin to whisper. Fairy grass is known to be very rare, and is made from the pollen of fairy wings. That is the legend. This plant has a brightening, toning, and smoothing effect on the skin, and ancient manuscripts say that it makes the skin like a fairy's. The effect has already been tested and proven, so there is no deception. No matter how old a woman is, the desire to look younger cannot be eradicated. Absolutely everyone around her wants this. Just in case the lady has made a convenient sample that can be tried before buying, she leads Cloud behind the screen. To achieve the full effect you need to keep it on your hair for an hour, but the price is quite high. The spray costs 50 talents per bottle. Later, the lady reports that once the effect manifests, the item will definitely be purchased, although initially the lady was surprised by the price tag. She asked if she knew that 50 was half of what one family could spend, since it wouldn't be private to ask for that amount of money. The girl understands that she needs to surpass Diana, who easily collects more than 500 talents at each fair, which means she needs at least the same amount. Before letting the lady go, Bells assures that Cloud will want to return. You will walk around the fair for an hour, and then, after seeing the effect, buy my product. Despite her age, the girl is quite a risk-taker. She promises that if nothing happens, she will definitely return the full amount. The lady didn't remember how Madame had behaved in the past, but she was lucky Edwin asked about the price of the spray, why it was so high, that the old man completely withdrew into himself. Pellis reports that while the lady went behind the screen, The Duke and his son were so inspired that they managed to sell another 50 bottles. The beauty has already earned 200 talents from the sale, with little left over. Throwing herself on her friend's neck, she hugs him and sincerely thanks him for his help. The Duke went off to chat with other aristocrats, so while it is impossible to thank him, the young man does not intend to leave, although he could see his friends. They meet so often that they have become bored with each other, and besides, the Marquise cannot leave Belzy alone and is constantly monitoring her. Gordon is already getting on in years. He can't handle villains. Let him do the selling, more and more people are joining the counter. But there is one but. Lauren came to check because they had received a complaint about a violation of the rules. She didn't just show up because she wanted Belzy to get what she deserved. After the first warning comes a penalty, and after the second comes a disqualification. Edwin asks what rule was broken. There can only be one assistant assigned to the counter, and two next to them. I wonder why they don't stop Berlot, obviously, because he is busy talking with the aristocrats. If Belza's fate is of any concern, the young gentleman should leave. It was the Marquise who informed on the boy, and he needs victory by any means necessary. No matter how pretty the girl may seem, she is a nun, and in area it is forbidden to quarrel with them. Eddie apologizes. It is wrong, because thanks to his help, on the contrary, sales went up, and no one bullied the girl. They and Gordon will take everything into their own hands, and will definitely cope with everything the boy can go to his friends. The young man blushes at being called Eddie. He will leave, but if something happens, he must be called back and not stand there like a pillar. The Duke left. All that was left was to pay the fine, which was 50 talents. Children always sell their goods for 1 to 3, which was an unfair amount which the nun herself had set. There is no way out. If you don't pay, you face disqualification. Gordon is the most unhappy of all. He was only happy that he managed to earn 200 talents. Of course, arguing is not the best idea, because it can scare away all the customers who will decide that something is wrong with the product, and then there will definitely be no purchases. The little girl promises to pay and is already reaching for the bag, when at the very last moment, Cloud approaches. People around her are whispering. The woman hands over 50 talents, because such a sum is too large. As for a child, the nun does not understand what is happening. What happened is contrary to the rules. The money was supposed to be given to the girl for the hairspray. Since Lauren got what she demanded, she was obliged to step aside. The effect is amazing. The respectable madame has noticeably grown younger. She would gladly buy everything. But there are other clients representing the first two buyers. The ladies with whom the woman has tea parties turn out to be nice people. They treat the candidate for sainthood without prejudice. Thanks to those brought by Cloud, we managed to sell all the hairsprays. And thanks to the help of the Duke, who talked about the elixir, we managed to sell almost everything. 180 bottles remained. Gordon is jumping for joy. Berlut will be wiped in the nose, but the most modest estimates have managed to earn 700 talents. The beauty happily announces that they can close sales, but the doctor believes it is better to try and sell every last jar. The lady steps away for a moment. In fact, product promotion wasn't the only reason she wanted to go to the temple. She wanted to check out the library. On such a great day, almost the entire staff of the shelter is at the fair, which means the entrance to the secret place is left unguarded. The sacred scriptures must be found. The books are divided into 2 categories. The first 5 volumes contain messages from the goddess rules and descriptions of the lives of saints, and all volumes after the 6th are chronicles of previous eras. Access can only be obtained in the temple. The maiden could have asked the Duke, but then there would have been records of what she read. She needs a clue about reincarnation and the missing heart. The first Saint Archaea gave her heart to the goddess, and then returned back in time, before she was just a character. There was no parallel between them. If she can figure out how the girl gave up her heart, and what happened to her afterwards, she will be able to understand what happened to her. It is possible to discover the story. The first part describes childhood meeting the goddess and gaining abilities. Her calling is to protect the people of the world. During the reign of King Estelrod, the first evil spread across the lands. Archaea remained at the forefront of the battles. She laid her heart on the altar where the goddess rested. There, a divine miracle of return occurred. Time turned back 4 years. She destroyed the demons, their minions, and evil itself. 4 years later, the temple troops led by Archaea won a victory, and the lady herself returned to the capital where she founded the first orphanage. A year after the end of the war, the girl presented herself at the age of 23 during the funeral. She had no heart. It's a pity it's not even written how she died, although the saint is important. Bells doesn't understand where her heart is, because she didn't give it to the goddess, but to a man. The lady examined Eddie, but didn't find the necessary energy. Initially, the saint laid her heart on the altar, in the ancient lands, the plain of Shalbath, where monks go to understand the will of God. More information can definitely be found in those lands, but the child will definitely not be allowed there. She will have to wait until she grows up a little. The girl spent more than half an hour in the library. Gordon is probably beside himself. The little girl is sent back. Ismail is beaten by boys. This is the same young man who was locked in that terrible room, after which he lost his voice and abilities. Earlier, the nun asked the children to help the one who had completely lost his voice. Even when being beaten, the hero believed that it was better than sitting locked in a room. The pain from the blows brought him back to reality, allowing him to understand more. The girl shrinks. She understands that Ismail is in really bad shape. He needs to stop. She screams, calls for the mentor, and immediately the boys run away in different directions. The blonde approaches to help with her power. The young man remembers her, because even when she was in the orphanage, she was constantly fighting with everything. Virgo obviously considered herself the most unfortunate of all, so she constantly tried to get into any fights. It's not clear where Belza got that confident expression from. She probably had it even worse. She was afraid of everything and angry at everyone. Looking into the eyes of the beauty, the young man begins to cry. He does not understand how she managed to escape from hell, why this happened to her. The appearance was familiar. The girl could not forget this man. He once said that there was no holy power in her, and she should not call herself a candidate. In front of Belze is Papa Monteus, the third one of the main male characters that exists in history. The previous father adopted him, and as an adult, he appeared in the novella along with the Crown Prince Edwin and the second prince. After the death of the Pope, Dunkesky was supposed to take the place, but he never received his post, as he did not have the Pope's seal, the main holy relic. The Templars were about to hold a vote, but at the very last moment, the deceased's adopted son appeared wearing the seal. The thing is that in the book he was called Monteus III. His name was not written anywhere. And again the heroine stumbled upon one of the main characters. When the maiden turned 18, young Ishmael made a public statement in support of Diana, just before she was declared a saint. At a time when nothing had yet been decided, the temple publicly took Berloth's side, without attempting to maintain neutrality. At that time, the Pope did not understand what Belz had done to maintain her status as a saint. On the contrary, she was constantly putting spokes in her own wheels. The girl stood aside because she had lost her abilities, while Diana healed the sick and even fought monsters on the northern border. It was considered that to be called a saint, when there was not a drop of divine power in the body, sounded worse than mockery. Then the lady was angry. She thought that she had been treated unfairly, but she understood why Ishmael supported Berlot. The lady is no longer angry. She lay for days on end in that room, just waiting to be let out. She felt the holy power leaving her, but she did not dare to say a word. Using energy, the saint heals Ishmael. It was the first time she had treated several places at once, but she was glad that everything went well. It's strange, but after using her gift to the maximum, she didn't get a nosebleed. Gradually, it becomes easier to treat people. The boy woke up and looked angrily. He wanted to say something, but then they announced that the fair was coming to an end. He had to run to the counter quickly. The lady is about to leave when someone grabs her by the hem of her dress. The young man is about to thank the saint. Surprisingly, he is supposed to be mute. Realizing how surprised the girl was, Ishmael pretended to have lost his voice. He had no choice, because he had to get out of the creepy room by any means necessary. Nodding, the blonde promises to keep the secret. The young man knows that the lady always wanted to defeat Diana. Do as I say, I will help you win. The talon count was completed. The little girl managed to run back. Her stand was almost excluded. The Duke was rushing with his daughter in his arms, so I tenderly thanked him. As the man ran as fast as he could, forgetting all the rules of etiquette, it became clear that he was doing this not for the sake of the family's prestige, but only because the girl wanted to become a saint, and thus please him. The little girl thinks that if the man doesn't win, he'll be upset, But it turns out that while the lady was away, Gordon earned another 111 talons. A mysterious gentleman appeared to the old man and immediately gave him 100 talons. Perhaps Edwin asked one of his friends. The stranger handed over a note. It said that this was payment for the treatment, and that on this very day the meeting between Diana and the second prince was to take place. But it was Caesar. The box is empty. The young man must take the place at the top. There is a possibility that the crown prince will come instead of him. The plot has changed again. A voice is heard. The pontiff comes forward. He greets everyone gathered to announce the final results. First, the old man would like to thank everyone present and participating in the charity fair for coming together. The time has come to choose a child who will be considered a saint. Magnus, the Pope's assistant, will begin the ritual. He will use an artifact created by the alchemist. It has the ability to convert gold coins into talons and vice versa. And if you put coins inside and light a fire, it will automatically count the amount. No matter how many times people see the ritual performed each time, it seems even more mesmerizing, and Belzy begins to get even more nervous. The heroine hopes that her result will be announced very soon, but of course it will be at the very end, so she will have to wait a little. Diana, with the help of her sacred power, received in total almost 800 talons, a total of 770. The beauty is congratulated in advance on first place. The ceremony is not over yet. You need to stay calm. It turns out that Belz is in first place. It turns out to be 952 talons. The Marquis jumps up. He doesn't believe that this is reality. The girl received more than 770. The pontiff tries to calm her down. You can voice your complaints after the ceremony's over. He reports that someone stole money from Diana. The use of talons outside the temple is strictly prohibited. And besides, none of the aristocrats present would be able to risk their reputation like that. Each of the visitors can confirm that the amount was 870 talons. There can be no mistake. The man's indignation shows the reality of what happened. Lauren approaches the gentleman and tries to assure him that after the ceremony is over, they will be able to discuss everything calmly. The pontiff understands that there has been a misunderstanding, something terrible, but since all participants are gathered, they will look for the culprit. The assistants are obliged to bring records of the prophet. The gentleman turns to Belza. He does not suspect her, but according to the reports, she is the only one who earned twice the amount of 100 talons. Both times the money was received at the counter. One customer is known. It was Duke Callios, who was a little late. The second man is signed as stranger. Belza is clearly uncomfortable with this interrogation. Besides, according to the records, that man arrived at the very end. It was 100% the crown prince. However, it's better not to make hasty statements. After all, he didn't even show his face to Gordon. The little girl will pretend that she doesn't know Caesar. The Marquis jumps up. He squeals that the girl was caught. She stole the money, those same 100 talons. It turns out the Duke the man has sunk so low only because his daughter did not take first place, thus tarnishing the reputation of the duchy. People in the hall are talking about how the gentleman is having a hard time with a bad child since she is much less capable than Diana. Everyone saw that the Marquis did nothing but hang around Belza's counter and then made a fool of himself. Perhaps the man was truly in dire straits since he stole 100 talons and hoped to convert them into gold and pocket them. The hero finally boils over. In his eyes, an innocent victim is being accused, and this is wrong. The pontiff orders silence. Arguing right on the sacred ground of the temple is wrong. The father sits down in front of the girl and apologizes for frightening her. He is ready to listen, but he cannot even show the note. The imperial monogram will become visible. A hooded man comes forward and says he brought 100 talons. He hadn't been feeling well lately, and after hearing about the elixir, he decided to try it. The little son of the empire initially wanted to receive treatment from Diana, but the queue was too long, so he handed over the bottles to safe hands. They are with Baron Lancelot. If anything, you can check. The prince does not want to appear officially, so as not to distract anyone from the fair. Caesar decided to intervene for only one reason. He noticed that the situation was progressively worsening. One of the priests comes forward. There is another oddity in Belza's report. Usually the income from the counter is 10 talons, but she has a record of 50 talons. Because the investigation dragged on, the ceremony was postponed. The Pope questioned the remaining participants and learned that 50 had gone missing. They had been taken in by a nun. In addition, it was discovered that the temple's income had been stolen all this time. And for this crime, the woman should have been tried directly, according to the law as it should be. The lady falls to her knees and says that the marquise persuaded her to steal as much as she could from Belze, and before the ceremony began, he suddenly gave her another 100. The stories differ. The marquis was angry about Diana's money disappearing. It's not clear why they start arguing with each other. The nun assures one thing, and the man orders her to be silent. The pontiff stops the scolding. The sister will be punished according to the law of the temple. They are going to take her away and no longer hear how she asks for forgiveness. The aristocrat would be punished by the palace guards. He would be punished. His reaction still worried Belze, but it didn't matter. The interrupted awards ceremony resumed. The prince hands the girl a bag with the collected funds, reminding her that he helped her a lot, and that the girl will give a speech of thanks. She thanks everyone who helped her get the title of saint. When she came up with that hairspray, she didn't even expect that it would go this far. The product is the beginning of something new, something unknown. For the first time, the lady is reaping the fruits of her labor. Several months have suddenly paid off. In the future, Belze can expect new cosmetic products using fairy grass. Personally, Virgo wants to express her gratitude to those who supported her the most, those who hoped for her success. One of the most important customers is the prince. The heroine introduces him separately, causing Edwin to freeze in horror, because he thought that it would finally come to him. The little girl is happy that she finally has money. She is more happy about receiving profit from the competition than about the victory itself. The Duke praises her at such a young age. Not everyone is capable of this. Without my father's help, nothing would have worked out. He was very helpful with the sale, and when Belze was accused of theft, he came out and stood up for her. Edwin turns around and walks towards the carriage, declaring that everyone is already waiting for them. He is behaving completely unusually, as if something had happened. He is not himself. The assumptions are wrong. It seems that the reason for everything was the fact that the girl had previously called him Eddie, and not Edwin, completely destroying his image. The Duke would have been happy to return to the mansion together, but he was invited to a charity dinner. They would meet at home when everything was over. As soon as the carriage drives away, Diana appears smiling calmly and trying to congratulate him on his newly received title of saint. Looking at her with dissatisfaction, the heroine nods. Noting that she also tried hard, she earned 800 talents, which means she cured 80 people. The amount of power is amazing. The girl felt a little sorry. If she had bid higher, she would have been able to win. Only when she was very upset about losing did she realize that she would like to become a temporary saint. There's no need to worry, there will be plenty of other opportunities in the future, but at the time they came into conflict with the Duke, the price of the spray had already been fixed, so it wouldn't have affected anything. From the moment Belze realized she had been given a second chance, she was determined to make up for all her past mistakes, and she wanted to mend her relationship. Despite her desire, where it is important not to destroy what is dear to the heart, for the sake of someone else's better attitude, the shackles of guilt and duty will not bind the lady. If Diana touches Belze's loved ones, she will immediately regret it. Ismail is visible behind the column. They need to talk. Saying goodbye to her friend, the girl hurries forward and asks a direct question whether the marquise's strange behavior was his doing. The headmistress claimed that he paid her 100 talents, but the man vehemently denied this, and they also wanted specific actions from the girl. The little girl was asked to introduce Ishmael during the ceremony, but she managed without his help. He does not understand how this is possible. The young man freezes. He thought that his ability would work. It's strange that nothing happened. It shouldn't have happened this way. At that time, the heroine didn't understand. Only after some time, it became clear that the guy really wanted to use his powers. Tell me for what? Ishmael has the ability to bend people to his will, and other than causing minor discomfort, they won't remember anything about him, so it's quite an attractive ability. Initially, the boy wanted to make a deal with the Duke, force the Marquise, to act as needed, and make Belze a saint. In exchange, the Duke would take him with him to the mansion. He could have said all this with his mouth without using force. However, he had no guarantee that the secret would remain safe and sound, so he had to resort to extreme measures. He explains clearly that in essence, he simply wanted to use the candidate for sainthood, but his power didn't work. and the girl won without any intervention. Even without Belza's help, the boy will succeed. He is obliged to take the papal throne and become the next ruler of the temple. Despite this, the maiden cannot leave him last time he asked her to help. A way will be found to do this. It will be better if he finds happiness and peace earlier. The heroine swears by the goddess and the heavens that she will not reveal the secret to anyone, so you can rest assured that tears are welling up in the boy's eyes. A familiar voice is heard. Edwin, who for some reason is angry, menacingly asks what the girl is doing next to an unfamiliar young man. The hero takes the beauty for himself, threatening the stranger that if he touches her with even a finger, things will only get worse. Belza explains that the boy wasn't planning on doing anything, although he doesn't look happy either. And if this continues, there will be trouble from which there will be no escape. She is not lying at all when she says that everything is completely fine, because in front of her is her friend Edwin, finally turned to the side, seizing the moment the girl grabs him and pulls him along with her. Calm reigns, and most importantly, a fight was prevented. However, the young man still cannot calm down. He is unhappy because he does not understand what caused it all. Stopping, he clarifies whether the stranger is really a friend. The girl said that she was not close to anyone while she was in the shelter. I turn away. The hero declares that there was no need to seek connections with a useless boy. Something is wrong. The girl does not remember telling him about who she was, friends with, and who she was not. Eddie and Ishmael were supposed to meet for the first time. However, the judgment comes as if they have known each other for a very long time. Maybe they have seen each other somewhere before. On the way home, while they were in the carriage, nothing much changed. The young man still looked upset. It was not clear what could have upset him so much. The girl doesn't want to be hated. She sincerely asks for forgiveness. She herself didn't really know. It seemed to her that she somehow managed to upset the guy completely, unintentionally. The brunette asks not to apologize if nothing bad was done. Otherwise, it will become a habit. Bells really didn't do anything. She has nothing to worry about. The boy was upset for another reason. Upset because he behaved extremely petty. The hero changes the subject. He had previously learned that the girl was acquainted with the crown prince. Obviously, the little girl knew that it was he who bought those bottles of the elixir. He was so gallant when he came on stage. Most likely, the guy was simply curious about who would become the next saint and wondering why the lady mentioned him in her speech. It becomes clear that the boy was in a bad mood because nothing was said about him. This is the heroine's fault. After all, he helped her a lot, but he didn't get words of gratitude. The girl apologizes again. She was so eager to advertise her product that she completely forgot to mention her friend, and Caesar's name helped with promotion. Of course, the only person the heroine could thank the most was Eddie. He notes that the girl is probably tired. Get some sleep on the way, we still have time. Never before had the saint seen such a side of his character. It was fascinating. She never ceased to rejoice that she was able to get to know him better every day. He was right. The heroine was so tired that her eyes were gradually closing more and more. The young man only wanted to be special, but he would never get angry at any little things anymore. Several days have passed since the festival in honor of the goddess's birthday, the result of which was the transfer of the title of saint to Belza, and Diana did not receive it. After the crown prince, rather than his brother, visited the fair, deviations in the original story became noticeable, and the differences became immeasurably greater. The girl came to his lordship and promised to return all the investments he had given for the benefit of her business when it was needed. Trying to catch her breath because she had been running for a long time, the little girl says that she brought payment in the envelope. There is half of what she earned, but she has another offer. The hairspray with fairy grass was the best advertised. The girl wants to grow the plant and continue producing cosmetics. She wants her father to invest more money and then make a profit from the sale. She even has a business plan that includes opening a store on the main street in a timely manner. Rent is the most expensive in the entire capital there, so this beauty definitely needs help. Do you happen to own any available property? Unfortunately, he has nothing, but if the cultivation was successful, the patent can be sold directly to the trading guild since it is already reserved. Handing over the business to others is not the best idea. If someone else takes over, the cultivation demand will fall sharply, which means the lady is planning to become a monopolist. The initial sum is large, about 500 zlotys. The Duke nods. It turns out that this sum can be obtained without his help. A letter arrived with an imperial decree, which the man managed to read. She won the competition and received the title of Best Entrepreneur. The girl remembers the words last time in the guild. They told her that there was a monetary reward, exactly 500 gold. Completely withdrawing into herself and rejoicing, the heroine hands the paper to the doctor, who reads that in order to receive the cash prize, she must arrive at the castle with the guardian. She wrote down Old Man Gordon on the form, completely forgetting about his last name. But it doesn't matter so much. The most important thing is that everything worked out for her. The Duke pretends to be very upset because he is not the trustee. Pals will not help with the opening of the store because he does not even have his own property. The only possession is a garden with fairy grass. Even plants can slip out of his hands at any moment. I wonder why he was chosen and not the master as expected. Falling to his knees, the doctor asks for forgiveness. He didn't want everything to turn out this way. Of course, Callios would be the best candidate, if that's what he thinks so. Be it, the young man agrees. His lordship will receive guardianship so that he can go to the palace with Belza. As long as the girl lives in this world, her father never ceases to surprise her. The day comes when they go to the emperor. The little girl is not sure that she can be held in her arms when entering the chambers. It is probably better to go herself. Liam doesn't pay any attention to the objections. Let everyone watch. Belzy is still very young. Besides, you can expect a lot of unpleasant surprises from the palace. Even though the heroine tries to resist in reality, she feels completely safe in his arms, so she won't exchange it for anything else. From the moment she entered the chambers, the girl was constantly shaking. Even the Duke himself noticed that she had become noticeably colder. It was time to quickly take the reward and go back home. The Crown Prince checks the paper that the saint submitted to the bureau. It is strange that Liam arrived, although Old Man Gordon was indicated as the trustee. The brunette takes out an official document, showing that he has been given the rights. Caesar thought that it was about a simple meeting. But if so, it no longer matters. Sitting down at the table, the young man immediately notices that the man is overprotective of the girl. He needs to be careful so that people don't think that she is his illegitimate daughter. There is some truth in these words, although of course he never cheated on anyone. Belz is like a daughter to him. He never hid his parental affection and will always protect her. The information is very valuable. The prince promises that he will remember it. The two are acting like fighters in the ring. The atmosphere is oppressive. The Duke cannot be stopped. They need to ask the young man to slow down. The boy notices the gestures, so he decides to change the subject. He didn't really say hello. After all, the meeting is important, considering that the saint won the competition. Caesar suggests skipping the formalities and asks how Mikhailo is doing. Liam immediately jumps up and asks how the boy found out about the toy. The girl has to justify herself. She met the crown prince in the guild, wrote the application of her own free will, and the bear was accidentally activated due to an incident. Things are bad. The man took the situation too seriously. The prince himself did not think that Belzé would become a witness. There is no point in asking for forgiveness. Anyway, the incident was most likely not worth mentioning. The second prize winner hasn't arrived yet, so we'll obviously have to wait a bit. But the Duke has a council meeting to start, and there's no time left at all. The young man states that he has no need to rush anywhere, but his words lose all meaning when Logan enters the room, saying that he did not mean to interrupt. Liam has an important message. It concerns the meeting. He mentioned a little earlier the meeting was unexpectedly postponed. It seems he will have to leave immediately. Before leaving the castle, the man gave the prince an angry look, promising his daughter that he would return soon, asking her to wait and not go anywhere. That would be the right thing to do. There is silence. The beauty is interested in who won second place. The young man asks if the Duke provides for the girl. That time you were determined to take the prize for yourself. The beauty jumps up and begins to apologize. If she had known then who was in front of her, she would have behaved differently. Everything turned out wrong. The red-haired man pauses and then laughs out loud. He was just joking. If there was a real threat in the castle, Liam would never have left Belzy alone. Last time we couldn't talk. The prince sincerely thanks for the help. Strangely, but the wound never healed. He didn't ask Diana to heal. Too many questions arise. The girl worriedly asks if the cut hurts. She should have called another candidate for sainthood to help. There are excellent healers in the castle. I don't need any holy power. His Majesty is more than satisfied with the treatment the saint has given him. The little girl is surprised that her abilities have been discovered. He noticed the girl's condition and how different it was. The heroine deliberately left him with several wounds so as not to arouse any suspicions, but it turned out there was no need for this. Everything needed to be healed at once. The butler, who is in the chambers, asks, pointing to the doll, whether this is the same bear possessed by an evil spirit who protected the master. The girl protects her friend. There really is a spirit living in him, but he is not evil. The Duke personally gave the thing instead of a personal guard, so that he would always protect. Although in killer mode, it must be admitted, he is terrifying. She also thought that Mikhail was interesting when she first saw him. They say he was found in some secret place. It turns out that the young man thinks the same about Belzis. He believed that the Duke was forced to take care of her out of a sense of responsibility, since she had saved Joshua, and he, as it turned out, had even given her a rare item. If it weren't for this, the young man would have been able to take the girl into his arms. She didn't hear what they told her, because he muttered it very quietly. It's better to return to the original topic. The prince wants to thank the maiden for her help, and wants to make one interesting offer. He gave 100 talents at the festival. However, this is too small a price for life. The gentleman hands over a document. It is a contract for the lease of real estate. He heard that the Duchess was just looking for premises in the city center. If the beauty so desires, Caesar himself will select the necessary building. The heroine feels strange, but she needs to calm down. No one would offer something like this for free. The saint will need something in return. She is a quick learner, so he tells her his plans. The maiden can open her own store, and at the same time collect all sorts of information from the aristocrats. The prince wants help in creating a secret fund, but of course the red-haired one doesn't ask the heroine to use her own money or the Duke's. Everything needed would be sent through the store, and the Duchess would be in charge of them. The true purpose of the competition was to recruit allies. It was even mentioned in the novel, if he is trying to recruit even a child like Belze. One can imagine how much mistrust there is towards him among the palace nobility. Unfortunately, the girl does not want to have anything to do with the imperial family. She apologizes. I don't think I'm suitable for this role. The conditions are good, but it seems like too much of a challenge. And besides, the Duke promised to find a place. And since the Duke had already outsmarted Caesar, he was probably planning to help anyway. The young man wasn't trying to threaten. There's no point in apologizing. He'll have to ask the winner of another competition for a favor. It's logical that the gentleman organized other competitions as well. The identity of the second person is under a veil of secrecy. The winner will soon arrive at the castle. The butler intervenes. They received an urgent telegram from a guest. Apparently, the Galagos Guild's trading vessel encountered the Kraken on its way back, and they won't be able to arrive back on time. The prince is surprised. There is a sincere hope that Adolf and everyone else are okay. Fortunately, there are no casualties, as well as no significant damage to the ship. Everything inside her went cold. The girl could not imagine that she would hear the vile name again. In the past, Galagos gave the potion with which Diana was poisoned, and he is also the first advisor to the crown prince. It later turned out that Caesar had fallen into a coma due to severe poisoning with the same poison that was intended for Berlot, meaning that Adolf had planned everything. As far as is known, the crown prince trusted the man so much that he made him his right-hand man. This trust increased precisely after the events of the festival. He will be loyal to those who were close to him. The young man turns to Belza, and noticing that she has turned completely pale, takes her face in his hands and asks if everything is okay with her. She refuses the doctor. Initially, the competitions were held because the master needed loyal allies. But in the end, he found someone who, without a twinge of conscience, stuck a knife in his back. They were about to postpone the ceremony, but the butler was just asked to call the Duke when Edwin ran into the room worried. The father said that he wouldn't have time to pick up Belza because of the meeting, so he called his son. He should calm down because nothing would happen. The boy wants them to go home quickly. However, he has not yet greeted the crown prince. Apparently, the young lord has not even noticed him. The brunette nods and greets the guy. It is obvious that bad luck is following the gentleman, as it was predicted. In the novel, Edwin asks to forgive him for his rudeness. He panicked. Even though the little girl rejected the plot taking first place, The prince still got Adolf as an ally. If history is unchanged, it's easier to pretend that nothing happened. It's hard to wrap my head around it. No matter how much the little girl wanted to ignore the imperial family, she had already promised that she would protect everyone and change her destiny. If the young man cancels the award ceremony and declares Belzy the sole winner, she will happily accept the proposal made earlier. She is confident that she can provide the necessary assistance, but in exchange, she will need to fulfill one condition. Caesar smiles. He thought that the little girl would not change her mind. At their next meeting, the prince asks to be called by name. They will soon become friends, so they will be close. When the reward is settled, Esterod will summon Callios to the castle. There is no limit to the joy, even if it is premature. We managed to separate Adolf and the prince, and we even managed to get the money, only Edwin is not in the mood. The boy promised that he would stop sulking over trifles, however he returns to the same thing again. There was no such thing, I was just worried. The young man didn't even worry about how it might affect their family. If Belze quarreled with Caesar, he thought only about her. The saint is an exceptional child. She is amazing, so it is not surprising that the master also noticed this. Still, there is hope that she will not be involved in the affairs of the palace. The girl thinks it's better to change the subject. They wiped her cheek. She wonders why snorting Edwin reminds that Esterod touched her face. Only the Duke can do that. They are not strangers after all. In his past life, he said something similar. I remember it very well, which means the Callioses already consider the baby a new member of the family. She believes that in the new world, everything will be even better. Virgo should be grateful because she is given much more than she deserves. However, there are hidden feelings inside her that she will never dare to voice. Someone comes up from behind. They haven't seen each other for a long time. Edwin's face changes almost immediately. His eyebrows crawl down, turning Belzy freezes in horror. Before them stands Kyrian Esterod, the second prince of the empire. The very man who in the past did everything to take the saint's heart and slander her. Diana stands next to the young man. She asks the young duke how he is doing. A feeling of hopelessness grows inside, which becomes more difficult to cope with. Leaning towards the red-haired man, Berlot says that next to Edwin is the same girl she spoke about earlier. One should have guessed that they would definitely meet in the palace. The girl is called a false candidate for sainthood, which is not a good thing given the fact that Diana is nearby, so bad that her legs can barely support her body. Eddie takes her friend by the hand. The Callios family will not intentionally sponsor a deception. They are absolutely confident in the powers that Belzy has. The prince snorts. He only heard the news out of the corner of his ear, nothing more. The boy looks weaker and smaller than in the past, no matter what happened then, because in the new life, they are all just children of about the same age. The girl raises her head higher, and walking forward, greets His Highness, doing it in the proper manner. She introduces herself by saying her name. Diana hurries to her friend, and in a cloying voice, she joyfully announces that she came at the Empress's request, and decided that she would also help the crown prince. She thinks that the girl asked to go with the Duke because he has some important meeting going on after the festival. Berlot stopped hiding her hostility. Stepping forward, the heroine explains that she won a competition with His Highness and became a young entrepreneur, so Caesar personally invited hers. The prince thought that the son of the Galagos family had won, but everything went wrong immediately after the young man made his choice in favor of the young duchess. I wonder what it was about the girl that made her stand out, since she took first place. Although it's not important at all, because Kyrian has another question. He heard an interesting story from his mother. He points his finger at the teddy bear. It was he who saved his older brother's life. Of course he knows, because it was the Empress who sent mercenaries to take Caesar's life. One of the people reported that a doll possessed by an evil spirit appeared in front of them and then beat them until they lost consciousness. The hero openly admits to attempting to kill his brother. Purple flames gather around the Duke, again, the same as the one that came from the priest. In an instant, the energy is no longer visible. They still have other things to do. It's time to leave. The aura appeared for only a minute, but it was clearly seen. Such a picture can go unnoticed, but after all, the girl will remember it for a long time. The flame pursues the saint. Perhaps it is being spread intentionally, telling Edwin that it is time for them to leave too. The maiden pulls him by the hand. In this case, she will not stand aside and watch, as this ominous flame flares up more and more. She will do everything to change the situation. The next day comes, the girl treats Joshua again, and she manages to finish the session, doing it a little earlier than expected. The boy no longer gets tired. He can play at least the whole day. Initially, the heroine was very worried because he had an incurable and hereditary disease. However, thanks to the Duke contacting the Tebron family, the situation improved. They sent medicinal plants, and also, without the participation of the saint, the orange flame noticeably diminished. It was almost invisible in the heart. The old man put his whole soul into the potion he offers to drink. Even though it is bitter, one can endure the terrible taste. Since the sister asks, one will have to be brave. The girl received official notification that a reward of 500 zlotys had arrived at the estate, and all the money was given to the old man. Without him, it would have been difficult to develop an elixir for fatigue, and there would have been no way to dream of winning the festival. From then on, the old man seemed to have been replaced. Joshua would like to visit the imperial palace. He visited it when he was a little boy, but lately he has been upset that he can't go anywhere. The little girl tries to support him, telling him that the castle is in fact incredibly boring. There's nothing to do there. Besides that, there were some mean kids there who called everyone names, so as soon as the young man gets better, it would be better to go for a walk along the main street. The heroine is planning to open her own store there. Soon the illness will subside, and the business will begin to grow. The happiness within cannot be replaced. All that remains is to hope that everything will be the same in the future. The Duke called his daughter to his chambers. He was busy with Logan, so it would be better to come later, just a couple of minutes, and the man would be free. They discussed the attack of the beasts. For the same reason the meeting in the castle began a little earlier. Adolf could not come also because of the monsters. Liam approaches his daughter. He thanks her for waiting. He congratulates her on winning the competition, organized by the prince. She was chosen as the only winner since the product was liked the most. The lady gave the prize money to Gordon. This is his salary, after all. He worked to help the lady, spent a lot of time on this. Stroking the girl on the head, the hero remarks that she did everything right. Good employees definitely need to be encouraged to try even better. The man fulfilled his promise. He was looking for a place on the main street to buy a suitable one. The beauty is handed a checkbook. Logan intervenes, no matter how you look at it. It's not the best decision. Huge sums of money are being handed over to a child just for healing Joshua. Even Diana didn't spend that much. When the man says that Bells is just an unreasonable child, the Duke loses his composure. His daughter became a candidate for sainthood and received the support of Kalios for a reason. Diva has been doing the same treatments as Diana before her. The results vary greatly, and in the eyes of the treasurer, nothing matters.